Chapter 6:26. A huge pressure emanated from Jinshin's palm as the majestic energy pressed down like a mountain. It was as fast as lightning, so fast that even the space below felt the pressure. The density of the energy increased rapidly, and in an instant, it was as if the space had been frozen solid. When the four demonic bloodthirsty apes had just reached a height of 50 meters, their bodies were bound by the space around them that had suddenly solidified. Their 30-meter-tall, mountain-sized bodies were also forcibly fixed in the air, unable to move. Boom! Following that, the majestic energy from above struck the bodies of the four bloodthirsty demon apes. With a muffled sound, the four Class 6 bloodthirsty demon apes fell to the ground at a speed several times faster than when they had leapt up. While they were in the air, they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Not only that, but blood also seeped out of their eyes, ears, noses, and pores. The bodies of the four bloodthirsty demon apes slammed into the ground with a thunderous boom. The powerful impact caused the ground to tremble violently. Large cracks appeared in the ground, and a nearby mountain peak was shaken to the point of collapse. The ground in a radius of several hundred meters had sunk to a depth of 10 meters. In the middle of the crater were four bottomless black holes. These were the craters created by the four bloodthirsty demon apes. Their bodies had sunk deep into the ground and were no longer moving. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. The experts of the Jitta family were all dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with disbelief as they stared at the scene before them. Their hearts were in turmoil. The strength Jinshin had displayed had left them speechless. With just a single palm strike, he had defeated four Class 6 magical beasts. Was this really the strength of a Heaven Saint Master? Facing four bloodthirsty demon apes at the same time, even a 6-cycle Heaven Saint Master with a Heaven tier battle skill would not be able to defeat them so easily. This was because magical beasts were naturally stronger than humans, yet Jinshin had done so with just a single palm strike. Just what kind of strength was this? Jinshin slowly withdrew his palm and calmly stared at the four bloodthirsty demon apes. He sighed in amazement. The vitality of these Class 6 magical beasts is truly tenacious. They're still alive after taking a single palm strike from me. They are much stronger than the Heaven Saint Masters of the Heiyun family. Why you really are Jinshin? After a long time, one of the elders finally came back to his senses. He stared at Jinshin in disbelief. He really couldn't believe that Jinshin, who had only participated in the mercenary tournament a few years ago, would actually possess such strength. This was because those who could participate in the mercenary tournament were definitely not older than 50 years old. Is this the strength of a saint ruler? A middle-aged woman stuttered. It's impossible for Jinshin to be so powerful. Who are you? Another middle-aged man questioned. None of them had seen Jinshin before, so naturally, they did not recognize him. Jinshin sneered. Just as he was about to speak, his eyes suddenly flashed, and he stared ahead. The space in front of them rippled, and a white-robed old man with white hair and a youthful complexion appeared. This was the ancestor of the Jitta family, the only Saint King of the Jitta family who was a hermit. We greet the ancestor. The Heaven Saint Masters of the Jitta family bowed respectfully. The old ancestor of the Jitta clan ignored the salutes of these people as his gaze landed on Jinshin. When he recognized Jinshin, his expression froze as if he couldn't believe his eyes. The person he had spent so much effort to capture had actually come to his doorstep on his own accord, sending him to his death. This was quite a shock to him. However, the Jitta family ancestor's face immediately darkened as he said in a deep voice, Jinshin, it's actually you. Correct, it is indeed me. Today, I have personally come to pay a visit to your family. Jinshin smiled and cupped his hands towards the Jitta family's ancestor, looking like a gentleman. If an outsider were to see this scene, they would think that they were just friends. The old ancestor of the Jitta family snorted coldly. He wasn't going to fall for Jinshin's trick. He then looked at the four bottomless pits on the ground, and his expression became solemn. Jinshin, did you create this? He asked expressionlessly. Other than me, there is no one else here. Jianshan smiled indifferently. Impossible. The ancestor of the Jita family frowned as he stared sharply at Jianshan. Jianshan, it has only been half a month since we last met. How have you become so strong? Have you already broken through the Heaven's Saint Master realm and stepped into the Saint Ruler realm? The ancestor of the Jita family could not hide the shock in his voice. He could no longer maintain his usual calm. The world is vast and nothing is impossible. However, there's one thing I can tell you. I am still a Heaven's Saint Master and have yet to break through, Jianshan said. His current cultivation level was indeed stagnant. It was just that the minor success of the chaotic body allowed him to possess the battle prowess of a Saint Ruler. If he could not comprehend the mysteries of the world, then he could never be called a Saint Ruler. Hearing this, the ancestor of the Jita family let out a long sigh of relief. The sudden thought that had occurred to him had given him a fright. Breaking through to the Saint Ruler realm before the age of 50 was just too shocking. Looking at the ancestor of the Jita family, Jianshan could not help but sneer. Didn't you want to take back the ruler weapon of your Jita family? Now that I am here, go ahead and take it. The ancestor of the Jita family quickly regained his composure and carefully scanned his surroundings in an attempt to find the hidden expert. He did not believe that Jianshan would come here alone because that was no different from sending himself to his death. However, after searching for a while, the ancestor of the Jita family did not find anything. He simply could not find the hidden expert. Seeing the ancestor of the Jita family suddenly become so cautious, Jianshan secretly sneered. Since you're not going to make a move, then let me go first. Take this palm of mine. Another strand of chaotic force condensed in Jianshan's hand as he slammed it towards the Jita family's ancestor. The surging energy caused the space in front of the Jita family's ancestor to congeal, causing the space around him to rapidly solidify. Feeling the power of the primal chaos force and the solidification of space around him, the ancestor of the Jita family's face changed. He never thought that in just half a month, Jianshan would become so strong. Despite the shock in his heart, the ancestor of the Jita family did not slow down. He suddenly let out a roar, and a majestic primal chaos force surged out from his body, shattering the solidified space around him and causing it to fluctuate violently. The solidified space then returned to normal. The ancestor of the Jita family trembled slightly. His entire body seemed to have become one with the space around him. Using his ability to manipulate space, he instantly teleported 100 meters away. He stared at Jianshan with a face full of shock. Jianshan's palm strike was made from a strand of primal chaos force that had transformed into a majestic primal chaos force that pierced through the Jita family's ancestor's position and continued to move forward until it finally hit a protruding mountain peak. Boom! With a violent explosion, the huge mountain peak was directly smashed into pieces and scattered in all directions. The entire mountain peak had disappeared without a trace. How is this possible? You've actually reached the realm of Saint Ruler. The ancestor of the Jita family's heart began to beat violently as he involuntarily cried out. The power of Jianshan's palm strike was clearly only at the level of a Saint Ruler. Hearing this, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Jita family were all shocked, and many of their faces turned pale. Such a young Saint Ruler was just too shocking. Quickly retreat. One of the elders shouted as he led the experts of the family to retreat far away. A battle between Saint Rulers was not something that Heaven Saint Masters could participate in. If they were too close, they would inevitably be caught in the crossfire. Jianshan did not reply. Instead, he gathered another strand of primal chaos force in his hand and sent it towards the Jita family's ancestor. Feeling the powerful energy surging towards him, the Jita family's ancestor did not choose to dodge this time. Instead, he sternly said, Jianshan, even if you have reached the realm of Saint Ruler, you are still only at the first heavenly layer. Now, I will show you just how great the difference between the first heavenly layer and the fourth heavenly layer is. Boundless Saint Force surged out from the Jita family's ancestor's body and shattered the frozen space around him. He then waved his hand and sent it towards Jianshan, causing the space around him to violently distort. Boom! The two extremely powerful energies collided in midair, and a violent explosion erupted. The sound was deafening, like a sudden clap of thunder from the nine heavens. It really made everyone's ears go deaf. The violent shock waves from the collision were so powerful that they seemed to cover the sky and the earth. All the trees within a 10-kilometer radius were uprooted and blown far away. Chapter 6:27. The turbulent energy waves wreaked havoc between the heavens and the earth for a moment before gradually dissipating. Looking at the primordial mountain range, other than the Jetta family, which was protected by the enchantment, the surrounding scenery had been destroyed beyond recognition. A battle between saint rulers was countless times more powerful than a battle between heaven saint masters. Every time they clashed, it would be enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Jinshan and the saint ruler of the Jetta family stood 100 meters apart as they stared at each other. This time, they were evenly matched and neither of them had the upper hand. The saint ruler of the Jetta family's expression became even more serious. Jinshan's strength was far greater than he had imagined. This made him feel very uneasy. He had originally thought that he would be able to suppress Jinshan, who had only recently entered the realm of saint ruler. But from this exchange, he could see that Jinshan was not as weak as he had thought. Just how did he cultivate? It's only been half a month, but his strength has increased to such a terrifying level. He's actually not much different from me. Such talent is really too terrifying. To reach this level at such a young age, if he's given another 100 years, won't he be able to reach the level of the Holy Emperor? The saint ruler of the Jetta family thought to himself. The way he looked at Jinshan had completely changed. Back in Mercenary City, Jinshan was only a talented junior in his eyes. He did not place him in his eyes and thought that he was as weak as an ant. But now, in just half a month, this insignificant ant in his eyes had brought him a great deal of pressure. This was hard for him to accept. Jinshan's rate of growth was just too fast. It was so fast that it caused a huge commotion in the entire Tianyuan continent. 100 meters away, Jinshan stared emotionlessly at the saint ruler of the Jetta family. His eyes were sharp as a powerful aura radiated from his body. It surged into the sky and stirred up the clouds. At this moment, he was like a god of war standing between the heavens and earth. His might was inviolable and undefeatable, but at the same time, he was like a divine sword that stood between the heavens and earth, radiating with a sharp sword chi. Suddenly, a layer of gray gas appeared around Jinshan's body. The primal chaos force within his body surged like an ocean. Strands of primal chaos force flowed towards Jinshan's hand, causing a layer of gray light to appear around his hand. The saint ruler of the Jetta family also sensed the power of the primal chaos force. The ancestor of the Jetta clan also sensed the powerful energy in Jinshan's palms. His expression became extremely solemn. With his strength as a saint ruler, he could clearly sense that the energy in Jinshan's palms was much more powerful than his own saint force. This shocked him to the core. Without hesitation, he moved both of his palms, slowly moving them in front of his chest. His palms seemed to contain the profound mysteries of the Grand Tao, allowing him to draw upon the mysteries of the world. Wherever his palms passed, the space around him rippled like water, and a mysterious energy from the world gathered around him. Seeing this, the Heaven Saint Masters watching from afar knew that the two of them were preparing a powerful attack. None of them dared to be careless, immediately taking all the clansmen within the barrier far away from the villa as quickly as they could. They could not guarantee that the barrier would be able to block the powerful attack that the two of them were preparing. After a few breaths, Jinshan made the first move. Pushing his hand forward, the primal chaos force in his hand gushed out like a flood towards the saint ruler of the Jetta family. At the same time, the great ancestor of the Jetta family let out a low growl as both of his palms struck out at lightning speed. The mysterious energy that had gathered in front of his chest also surged forward. This energy seemed to contain the mysteries of heaven and earth. It could not be seen or touched, but it seemed to have fused with the space around it, merging with heaven and earth. The two forces collided in midair, but there was no expected explosion, nor was there any berserk energy shockwave wreaking havoc. There was only the violent trembling of space. The powerful energy tore apart space, and 1-meter-long, pitch-black cracks appeared one after another, but they were constantly mended again and again. And at the center of the energy contact, there was a fist-sized black hole. Through the black hole, one could even faintly see bits of starlight. That was the faint light emitted by the stars. Jinshin's primal chaos force and the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family's Saint Ruler of the Jitta family were in a stalemate in the air. They fought and canceled each other out. As time passed, the two powers rapidly weakened. Finally, after a few breaths, Jinshin's primal chaos force gained the upper hand and exhausted the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family's Saint Ruler of the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family. The remaining primal chaos force did not weaken at all and continued to charge towards the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family. Just what kind of power is this? It's so strong. The Saint Ruler of the Jitta family exclaimed. He pushed out with both his hands, and Saint Force surged out from his body to disperse the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family's Saint Ruler of the Jitta family. Master, you can't go on like this. This will consume too much of your primal chaos force, and you won't be able to use it to its full potential. The primal chaos force can only be used in conjunction with the primal chaos body. Ziying's voice suddenly sounded in Jinshin's mind. Hearing this, Jinshin's heart skipped a beat. He immediately gave up on using the primal chaos force to attack the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family. With a thought, the wind element of the heaven and earth gathered around Jinshin's body and rushed towards the Saint Ruler of the Jitta family. Chapter 628. Hearing the words of the sword spirits, Jinshin did not hesitate at all. Like an obedient student, he immediately did as he was told. With a thought, the chaotic knight in his dantian immediately spat out strands of chaotic force throughout Jinshin's body. With the combination of chaotic force and chaotic body, Jinshin's body was pushed to its strongest state, giving him an extremely strong defense. Furthermore, after the chaotic force spread throughout his body, Jinshin did not feel any depletion of chaotic force. If he wanted to maintain this state of defense, he would not need to expend chaotic force at all. Furthermore, Jinshin discovered that his body's various abilities were rapidly increasing. At this time, Jinshin was already close to the ancestor of the Jitta clan. He clenched his hand into a fist as chaotic force gathered around it. He directly threw a punch at the ancestor, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Although Jinshin was not skilled in close combat, he wanted to see just how powerful the fusion of chaotic force and chaotic body was, since he could unleash the full power of the chaotic force. So he wanted to see just how powerful it was. Seeing that Jinshin had chosen to fight in such a manner, the ancestor of the Jitta clan was stunned. However, a cold smile soon appeared on his face as he said, "Jinshin, this old man is not weak in close combat. Today, I will let you experience it." The ancestor of the Jitta clan was not slow either. His right hand formed into a claw as Saint Force surged towards Jinshin's neck. At the same time, he quickly raised his left hand to block Jinshin's fist. The ancestor of the Jitta clan was a true Saint Ruler. He had seen through the mysteries of the world and comprehended the mysteries of space. Every move of his was infused with spatial force, so his speed was extremely fast. He was so fast that Jinshin did not even have time to dodge. His right claw grabbed Jinshin's neck in an instant. Jinshin was slightly surprised when he saw his neck being grabbed. Although he had filled his entire body with chaotic force and pushed the power of the chaotic body to its limits, he was facing a Saint Ruler after all. He did not know just how powerful the chaotic body was, so he felt rather uncertain. He did not know if his neck could withstand the attack of Saint Ruler. Being able to grasp Jinshin's weakness so easily, the ancestor of the Jitta clan was overjoyed. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he sneered. "Jinshin, you may have stepped into the realm of Saint Ruler, but you clearly have not grasped the mysteries of space. This old man will now send you to the afterlife." As he spoke, the ancestor of the Jita clan exerted force with his right hand in an attempt to break Jinshin's neck. However, when he exerted force, he was shocked to find that Jinshin's neck was not made of flesh and blood. It was several times harder than diamond. The joy on the ancestor's face disappeared and was replaced by shock. He stared at Jinshin in shock and exclaimed, "How is this possible? How can your neck be so hard?" This time, Jinshin had finally personally experienced the power of the chaotic body. Its defenses were indeed extremely shocking. Even a mighty saint ruler was unable to harm him at all when he grabbed him by the neck. This made him ravish with joy. His heart that had been raised to his throat had completely calmed down. At the same time, Jinshin's right fist landed on the Jita clan ancestor's palm. With a crisp cracking sound, the Jita clan ancestor's entire right arm was broken. The Jita clan ancestor groaned as his right arm fell limply to the ground, unable to exert any strength. Jinshin roared as he channeled the primal chaos force into his arm and punched towards the Jita clan ancestor's chest. The space in front of him froze as the fist moved at lightning speed. Having suffered once, the Jita clan ancestor knew how powerful Jinshin's fist was. He did not dare to use his own body to block it. His body swayed slightly as he used the power of space to retreat dozens of meters away. The frozen space could not stop him at all. Punk! Jinshin's fist landed on empty air, causing the space in front of him to distort violently. Without any hesitation, Jinshin let out a carefree roar towards the sky and charged towards the Jita family's ancestor, who was a few dozen meters away. His aura soared to the heavens as his battle intent soared. Seeing the ferocious Jinshin, the Jita family ancestor's face became even more solemn. His body flashed as he used spatial force to retreat a few hundred meters away. Saint Force surged out from his right hand and quickly condensed into a large, fiery red sword. It gave off a terrifyingly high temperature, as if it was about to combust the air around it. "Now, the old man will not hold back. Let the old man have a good taste of you." The Jita clan ancestor growled. After these few exchanges, he knew that if he held back, it would be extremely difficult to deal with this rising star in front of him. Chapter 629. The patriarch of the Jita family fused with the surrounding space and turned into a faint shadow. In an instant, he appeared before Jinshin, the saint weapon in his hand glowing red as he swung it towards Jinshin, tearing a 2-meter-long fissure in the fabric of space. Feeling the power of the attack, Jinshin's face changed. Although he knew that his primal chaos body could easily withstand a saint ruler's claw attack, this time his opponent was using a sharp weapon that was much stronger than the claw attack. He was not sure if his body could withstand the attack of a saint weapon. The attack of a saint ruler using a saint weapon was not to be underestimated. Jinshin did not dare take the risk and dodged to the side with all his might. But in the end, he was still a heaven saint master. Although he had the battle prowess of a saint ruler, he was still powerless in the face of the mysteries of the world. The attack of the Jita family ancestor contained the principles of space, and no matter how hard Jinshin tried to dodge, he could not avoid the attack. In the end, he was stabbed in the chest by the flaming saint weapon. Jinshin's chest was not pierced as expected. When the tip of the saint weapon came into contact with Jinshin's chest, its forward momentum came to an abrupt halt. The powerful saint weapon had only managed to pierce through a thin layer of skin on Jinshin's chest, causing a small amount of blood to flow out. The Jita family ancestor's eyes narrowed to the size of a needle as he stared in shock at the small wound on Jinshin's chest. His face was filled with disbelief. Although this attack was not his full strength, it still contained 80% of his energy and possessed enough power to destroy the world. Yet, such a powerful attack had only caused a small amount of damage to Jinshin. This was a scene that was difficult for him to accept. Jinshin lowered his head to look at the wound on his chest. It was as if he had been bitten by a mosquito. A saint ruler using a saint weapon had only left such a small amount of damage on his body. This was the first time he had seen the true power of the primal chaos body. Now, he no longer feared the Jita family ancestor. Master, Xing and Qing Suo have yet to recover their strength. Their origin energies are not as strong as your primal chaos force. You should use primal chaos force for the time being. Although your primal chaos force and primal chaos body are only at the initial stages, it is still not a true primal chaos force or body. However, facing a saint ruler of this world should not be much of a problem. Xing's voice sounded in Jinshin's head voice. Hearing this, Jinshin immediately gave up on the idea of using the origin energy of the Azure Sword spirits. Instead, the chaotic force within him surged like a river, filling every inch of his body. He then swung his fists at the ancestor of the Jita clan. Although he was not proficient in close combat with his fists, he did not have a suitable weapon. Even the origin energies of the sword spirits could not be used. Under the circumstances, he had no choice but to resort to this method. The Jita family ancestor easily dodged Jinshin's fists and instantly circled behind Jinshin. Once again, he swung his saint weapon at Jinshin's back. This time, he did not hold back at all. The saint weapon streaked across Jinshin's back with lightning speed. The force of the blow tore apart the clothes on Jinshin's upper body, revealing his white and tender skin. Soon after, a long white mark appeared on Jinshin's back. It ran all the way down his back. Following that, a stream of blood slowly flowed out. It was an eye-catching sight. What happened next was even more unbelievable. The wound on Jinshin's back healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths of time, the wound caused by the Jita family ancestor's full strength attack was completely healed. Not a single scar was left behind. How is this possible? The Jita family ancestor stared blankly at the scene. He was completely dumbfounded. His full strength attack was only able to cause so little damage to Jinshin. The white tiger on Jinshin's shoulder seemed to be in pain from the Jita family ancestor's attack. It let out a series of urgent cries as it clung tightly to Jinshin's neck. Its body hanging from Jinshin's shoulder was on the verge of collapse. Feeling the burning pain on his back, Jinshin's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He took the white tiger off his shoulder and clamped it under his left arm. He then turned around and punched the Jita family ancestor. Jinshin and the ancestor of the Jita family were locked in an intense battle in the air. Both sides were using their full strength, and every move they made had enough power to destroy the world. Every clash would produce a loud boom, and the violent shockwaves of energy would wreak havoc in the surroundings. Spatial cracks would appear one after another as they fought, causing the sky to darken and the sun to dim. Even the forest below had been reduced to a mess. The battle in the sky continued for half a day without stopping. By this time, the Jita family's villa had been completely razed to the ground. Only the ruins of the buildings were left behind. The Jita family members had long since escaped under the protection of a dozen Heaven Saint Masters. They had fled to a safe place several dozen kilometers away to hide. However, Jinshin felt extremely aggrieved in this battle. He had been fighting with the Jita family ancestor for so long, and yet he had not even managed to touch the corner of his opponent's clothes. Every time he was about to land a blow, the Jita family ancestor would use the spatial manipulation to escape. On the other hand, who knew how many wounds he had received from the Jita family's ancestor? However, with the strength of his chaotic body, the Jita family's ancestor's attacks did not pose much of a threat to him. The wounds on his body healed in just a few breaths of time, leaving not a single scar on his body. Although Jinshin had the battle prowess of a saint ruler, the true difference between a saint ruler and a heaven saint master was the profound mysteries of the world. Before he had comprehended the profound mysteries of the world, Jinshin would not have been able to kill a saint ruler, even if he had the strength to contend with one. He would not have even been able to heavily injure a saint ruler. Unless a saint ruler gave up on using the spatial manipulation to escape and went all out against Jinshin. The Jita family ancestor stopped a kilometer away and stared at Jinshin with a serious expression. Jinshin, we have been fighting for so long, and neither of us can do anything to the other. Why don't we stop here? There is no point in continuing. After this battle, the Jita family ancestor understood that although he was able to suppress Jianshan, he was unable to injure him. Even if he used his full strength, he would only be able to cause a small injury to Jianshan. Jianshan also stopped in midair. His body was enveloped in a layer of saint force of the wind attribute. He was completely relying on the yuan qi of the world to stay afloat, unlike the Jitta family ancestor who did not rely on any elemental energy to stay afloat. Chapter 630. Hearing Jianshan's words, the Jitta family's ancestor's face turned ugly. He knew that Jianshan was not joking. With his abnormal talent and speed of growth, the next time they meet, the Jitta family's ancestor would be no match for him. Even now, the Jitta family's ancestor couldn't do anything to him. The old ancestor of the Jitta family floated in the air, his eyes flashing with uncertainty as he struggled to come to a decision. After a while, he finally made up his mind and said, "Jianshan, it is better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. Moreover, this entire matter was caused by you. We only want to take back what is rightfully ours. Although our Jitta family has gone a little overboard in certain areas, today you have destroyed our sect and destroyed the place where we have lived in seclusion for thousands of years. It is no longer suitable for us to continue living here. The debt we owe you has been repaid, and from now on, let's write off the grudge between us." "That's easy for you to say," Jianshan sneered. "If you had said this to me in the past, I would have seriously considered it. But now, the Jitta family is no longer a threat to me. You want me to let bygones be bygones? Dream on." The Jitta family's ancestor's face turned completely gloomy. "Jianshan, I can't do anything to you, but you can't do anything to me either. Even if you don't think for yourself, can't you think for the people around you? Although the Jitta family is a secluded family and rarely interacts with the outside world, we still have many ways to find out where you are and who you are in the shortest amount of time possible." "You dare?" Jianshan's face suddenly changed. His eyes suddenly became extremely frightening. Like two sharp swords, he stared at the Jitta family's ancestor. "If that is the case, then I will first exterminate the Jitta family." An intense killing intent emanated from Jianshan's body as he flew towards the Jitta family's hiding spot a few dozen kilometers away. With his current strength, dealing with these people who were only Heaven Saint Masters was as easy as crushing an ant. Jianshan's actions had greatly frightened the Jitta family's ancestor. He scolded himself for being foolish and regretted his decision. If he had known that his words would enrage Jianshan, he would never have said it. Once Jianshan decided to attack his own clansmen, he would not have been able to stop him. After all, Jianshan's chaotic body was just too tyrannical. Even he would have to avoid facing it head-on. "Jianshan, stop. We could talk this out," the old ancestor of the Jitta family shouted. His body flashed, and with the help of the power of space, he appeared in front of Jianshan at an unbelievable speed. Jianshan's eyes were sharp, and his face was filled with killing intent. Surging chaotic force gathered in his right fist as he punched towards the old ancestor of the Jitta family, who was blocking his path. The old ancestor of the Jitta family easily dodged Jianshan's attack and retreated 100 meters in a flash. With a wave of his hand, he sent a powerful sword chi towards Jianshan in an attempt to stop Jianshan's advance. Jianshan was not afraid at all. Instead, he raised his fist and met the incoming sword chi head-on. Boom! The fist and sword chi collided, resulting in a loud explosion. The violent shock waves wreaked havoc in the surroundings, causing the space around them to tremble and distort. Jianshan's advancing figure came to an abrupt halt as a small wound appeared on his fist. Traces of blood flowed out from the wound, but after a few breaths of time, the wound had healed. "Jianshan, as long as you let my Jitta family members go, I, Jittatai, will do 3 things for you," the old ancestor of the Jitta family hurriedly said. For a family that had existed for thousands of years, the continuation of the family was more important than anything else. As long as he could ensure the continuity of the family, he was willing to suffer a little. Hearing this, Jianshan's eyes flashed and his killing intent weakened. He stared intently at the old ancestor of the Jitta family and pondered for a moment before saying, "No, If you really want me to let go of all the things you have done to me, then there is only one way. What way? The old ancestor of the Jita family asked. Submit to me. Jinshin's face revealed a faint smile. If the old ancestor of the Jita family was willing to submit to him, then he would let go of the past. Don't even think about it. The old ancestor of the Jita family was livid with rage. His chest heaved up and down as his eyes flashed with anger. As a saint ruler, how could he possibly submit to a mere junior? Jinshin's face turned cold as he said expressionlessly, If that is the case, then there is no room for discussion. Jinshin, let's change the plan. The old ancestor of the Jita family forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and pretended to be calm. This was a matter of life and death for the Jita family, and he could not afford to be careless. Jinshin did not hesitate to shake his head and said, This is the only way. There is no other way. At this point, Jinshin paused for a moment before continuing, Although submitting to me will be a little hard on you, it will not be too shameful for you. Since I am able to reach my current level of strength at such a young age, given enough time, I will definitely be able to step into the realm of the Holy Emperor, perhaps even the legendary Holy Emperor. Upon hearing the words Holy Emperor, the old ancestor of the Jita family trembled violently as he looked at Jinshin in shock. However, when he thought of Jinshin's abnormal strength that was far beyond his age, he felt relieved. Although there were only a handful of people in the Tianyuan continent who were able to step into the realm of the Holy Emperor, it was not impossible. However, the most important point was that these people were not as talented as Jinshin. With Jinshin's ability, it was possible that he would be able to step into the realm of the Holy Emperor in the future. Thinking of this, the old ancestor of the Jita family began to relax. Seeing the expression on the ancestor's face, Jinshin decided to strike while the iron was still hot. From a long-term perspective, you won't suffer any grievances if you submit to me right now. Instead, you'll reap great benefits in the future. It might even allow your clan's status to rise to a whole new level. You'll go from a hermit clan to an ancient clan. And when I step into that supreme realm in the future, with my help, you'll have a greater chance of breaking through to Saint King. The old ancestor of the Jita family's heart began to beat uncontrollably, but he still calmly said, How can you guarantee that you will be able to reach the realm of the Holy Emperor in the future? Chapter 631. What? You are only 23 years old. The Jita family's ancestor was shocked. Although he knew that Jinshin was young, he never thought that he would be this young. A 23-year-old saint ruler was something that had never happened before on the Tianyuan continent. Before Jinshin, there had never been anyone who had reached saint ruler at such a young age. His talent was unprecedented, and there would be no one like him in the future. Suddenly, the Jita family's ancestor thought of Jinshin's actions in Mercenary City and how he had not been punished. He subconsciously exclaimed, Could it be that you are the reincarnation of Emo Tianyin? In the Jita family's ancestors' knowledge, only the ancient Emo Tianyin would have such a terrifying talent. Although Emo Tianyin's story had never been spread in the Tianyuan continent, the Jita family's ancestor had never heard of it. Hearing this, Jinshin's face revealed a trace of astonishment. He did not think that the Jita family's ancestor would think that he was the reincarnation of Emo Tianyin. How about it? Have you thought it through? If you submit to me and work for me, the grudge between me and your Jita family will be written off. Who knows, you might even reap great benefits in the future. But if you don't, then only one of us will survive. Jinshin didn't bother to explain, but instead smiled and said, The old ancestor of the Jita family floated in the air with an uncertain expression on his face. His eyes flickered as he struggled to make a decision. He knew that if he chose to submit to Jinshin, he would lose his freedom and be reduced to a servant. Moreover, he would lose his freedom as well. As a mighty saint ruler who stood at the apex of the Tianyuan continent, it was still an extremely difficult choice for him to make, even though the young man was a supreme genius with dazzling talent. The ancestor of the Jita family hesitated for the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. In the end, he had no choice but to compromise. Jinshin, you have one. Jitatai, hereby declare my allegiance to you." After saying this, the Jita family's ancestor seemed to have aged a lot and lost his usual vigor. Jinshin's face revealed a victorious smile as the joy in his heart reached its peak. He knew that from now on, he would have a saint ruler by his side who would listen to his every command. Not only would this be a powerful force, it would also be a great deterrent. "Where's your blood oath?" Jinshin asked with a smile. The Jita family's ancestor gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of blood. It quickly formed a strange blood-red mark in the air and slowly floated in front of Jinshin. This blood oath was something that the Jita family had spent a great deal of energy to create. It was closely linked to his life and death. Now that he had given the blood oath to Jinshin, it was the same as giving his life to Jinshin. "I hope you are a man of your word," the Jita family's ancestor said hatefully. Jinshin reached out to receive the blood-red mark and placed it between his eyebrows. As soon as the mark touched his forehead, it disappeared and entered Jinshin's sea of consciousness. The blood oath created by the Jita family's ancestor slowly floated in Jinshin's sea of consciousness under the protection of the sword spirits. Around the sword spirits was a layer of primal chaos force that formed an impenetrable prison. "Master, you can be at ease. There is no problem." A moment later, the voice of Xingth sounded in Jinshin's mind. Jinshin let out a sigh of relief. The primal chaos force that had gathered around the blood oath disappeared in an instant. The Sea of Consciousness was a very dangerous place. He had to be careful in order to prevent the Jita family's ancestor from tampering with the blood oath. Due to the existence of the blood oath imprint, Jinshin discovered that there was a subtle connection between him and the Jita family's ancestor. This allowed him to sense the Jita family's ancestor's location. Not only that, he even had a thought. If he were to destroy the blood oath imprint in his sea of consciousness, the Jita family's ancestor would die in an instant. Jinshin knew that he now had complete control over the fate of a saint ruler. This made him very happy. This was definitely a huge gain. "All right, now that we are family, I wonder how I should address you in the future," Jinshin said to the Jita family's ancestor with a smile on his face. The killing intent that had been emanating from his body had long since disappeared. "Old man Jitatai," the Jita family's ancestor said expressionlessly. Jinshin did not care about the Jita family's attitude and said with a smile, "Then I will call you Jitatai from now on. For now, stay here and deal with the family's matters. Come to Mercenary City in half a month and wait for me there." Jitatai nodded slightly and did not say anything. He was feeling very down. Chapter 632. The sky was clear and cloudless with a gentle breeze. The golden sun emitted a dazzling golden light that illuminated the entire Tianyuan continent, bringing light and warmth to the world. Thousands of meters high in the sky, Jinshin and Wang Yifeng flew through the air at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared from the horizon. "Jinshin, you really are too strong. I never thought that a saint ruler would be killed by you. Although I was unable to witness this shocking battle with my own eyes, I was still shocked by the scene. That earth-shattering sound, that earth-shattering scene, I even felt that the world was about to be destroyed by you." Wang Yifeng's expression was filled with excitement as he spoke nonstop. The strength of a saint ruler is indeed very strong. It is not something that can be defeated by a human. Today, I have finally witnessed it. In the future, I, Wang Yifeng, will have the face to brag about it. A battle between saint rulers is something that is hard to come by even in 100 years. Jinshin chuckled. "You think too highly of me. A saint ruler is not so easy to kill. Although the battle between me and the saint ruler of the Jita family was very intense, the two of us were evenly matched. Neither of us could do anything to the other. The saint ruler of the Jita family was not killed by me. That's still very impressive. Jinshin, you don't seem to be as old as me right now, but I never thought you'd already become a saint ruler. Your future accomplishments are limitless. It's my fortune to be able to follow you. I'll definitely be able to live a good life in the future," Wang Yifeng said with a cheeky smile. To be able to follow a saint ruler was something that he was very happy about. Suddenly, Wang Yifeng seemed to have thought of something. His expression tensed up as he nervously looked at Jianshun and said, "Oh right, Jianshun, you cannot abandon me. Although I am only a second cycle Earth Saint Master, my potential is not weak. I'm only 35 years old and can be considered a genius in the Tian Yuan continent. Breaking through to the Heaven Saint Master realm is a matter of time. The only thing I lack is time. I can even reach the Saint Ruler realm. If you're willing to join my mercenary group, I will naturally not abandon you. But I have to make it clear that following me is not necessarily a good thing. Although I am not weak, my future opponents will be even stronger. They are not to be trifled with." Jianchun said in a light tone. "Haha, I don't care about that. Who knows what will happen in the future? However, I, Wang Yifeng, will definitely follow you." Wang Yifeng laughed as he spoke, as if he was determined to stick to Jianshun. Afterward, Jianshun returned to Mercenary City with Wang Yifeng. First, he told Wang Yifeng to wait for him in the city. Afterward, he chatted with Xiao Ling a little before leaving. He flew toward Longevity Valley. At the same time, a burly, stocky, middle-aged man sat in a secret room with a cold expression in a first-class city of the kingdom closest to Mercenary City. "Esteemed sir, we have already investigated the information you requested." An old man sat across from the middle-aged man in the secret room with a professional smile. "Speak. If the information is reliable, I will reward you handsomely." The middle-aged man's eyes lit up as he said coldly. As soon as he heard that there would be a reward, the old man's smile grew even wider. The thick wrinkles on his face crumpled into a ball, and he quickly said, "Esteemed sir, after our Lost Tracks sex investigation, we have already gained a preliminary understanding of Jianshun's movements. After experiencing that shocking incident in Mercenary City, he stayed in Mercenary City for another month before leaving. A few days later, he appeared in a first-class city of the Heavenly Jewel Kingdom, wiping out a powerful family, causing great damage to the entire city. He probably used a heaven-tier battle skill." The middle-aged man waved his hand impatiently and said, "Don't tell me such useless nonsense. Get to the point, I just want to know his whereabouts." Yes, the old man hurriedly replied. Sorting out his thoughts, he said, "Since Jianshun is a Heaven Saint Master, he travels by air, so we are unable to follow him. We only know that he returned to Mercenary City with someone 2 days ago, but he did not stay for long before leaving. He seems to have gone to the Cross Mountains." "The Cross Mountains?" A gleam of light flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes as he murmured, "Why did he go there?" "Esteemed sir, Jianshun only left in the direction of the Cross Mountains. We cannot guarantee where he will go or whether he will change his route midway. However, I can guarantee you that as soon as we learn of Jianshun's location, we will contact you as soon as possible." The old man continued. The middle-aged man nodded slightly and threw a bulging bag of money onto the table. He said coldly, "This is your reward. Remember, you must track Jianshun with all your strength. As soon as he leaves Mercenary City, contact me as soon as possible." Yes, the old man hurriedly replied. He immediately picked up the bag of money on the table and opened it. Immediately, a violet light shone out. The old man's smile became even more enchanting when he saw this. Jianshun returned to Longevity Valley by himself. Now that the matters outside had been temporarily dealt with, he planned on staying in Longevity Valley and waiting for Little Fatty's return. At the same time, he could properly familiarize himself with his newly obtained chaotic force. As for the Sure family, with their ancestor dead, the remaining Heaven Saint Masters no longer posed any threat to Jianshun. They would not be able to cause any trouble. At the same time, his current strength was equivalent to his Saint Ruler. As his strength increased, his insight had increased as well. He no longer took the Sure family seriously after they had lost their Saint Ruler, so he could not be bothered to make another trip to deal with their remaining forces. He planned on letting the Flame mercenaries train their troops once they grew stronger. After returning to Longevity Valley, Jianshun exchanged some pleasantries with the villagers. Afterward, he temporarily settled down in a wooden hut under Xiaomi's arrangements. In the evening, Jianshun ate dinner with Xiaomi and his wife before directly locking himself up in the wooden hut. Jianxin sat on the bed like a statue in the pitch-black hut. He was currently learning more about chaotic force from his sword spirits. Master, your current chaotic force can't be considered true chaotic force. It's much weaker than true chaotic force, so when you use it, you can't just send it out. Not only will it consume a lot of chaotic force, but it'll also be much weaker, Xing said in Jinshin's head. If that's the case, doesn't that mean I can only use my fist to fight in close combat in the future? Jinshin said in a rather troubled manner. Yes, Master. Chaotic force is extremely brutal. Regular weapons are unable to support the flow of chaotic force. So before you forge the azulate swords, you can only rely on your chaotic body to fight in close combat, Xing said. Master, don't worry. As long as you find enough materials, you can forge the azulate swords. Chaos gives birth to yin and yang, and Xing and Qing Suo are condensed from yin and yang qi. So Xing and Qing Suo are extremely close to chaotic force. As long as you successfully forge the azulate swords and use chaotic force to support them, the power of the swords will increase by leaps and bounds. At that time, you'll be able to roam the world, Qing Suo said. Jinshin's heart beat wildly when he heard Qing Suo's words. He desperately wanted to forge the azulate swords, but he soon felt extremely troubled. The materials were just too difficult to find. Who knew when he would be able to gather enough materials to forge the swords? Master, ruler armaments might just be able to endure chaotic force. Why don't you find a suitable ruler armament to replace them? Xing suggested. Yes, Master. Ruler armaments should be able to endure chaotic force. Before you forge the azulate swords, you can find a ruler armament to replace them. However, I think that since a saint ruler at the 9th heavenly layer could leave behind a ruler armament, wouldn't a holy emperor at the 9th heavenly layer be able to do the same? If it's possible, you should find a weapon left behind by a holy emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. It has to be much more powerful than a saint ruler's weapon, Qing Suo said. A holy emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. Jinshin smiled bitterly inside when he heard that. A ruler armament left behind by a saint ruler was already so difficult to find, let alone an item left behind by a holy emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. There were probably only a few god artifacts like that on the entire Tianyuan continent. However, Qing Suo's suggestion was not a bad idea. Whether or not he could find one would depend on luck. Xing, Qing Suo, saint rulers have grasped the mysteries of the world and can use spatial force. Even if I cultivate the chaotic body, I won't be able to pose a threat to them. Do you have any methods to deal with this problem? Chapter 633. Master, chaotic force can destroy all the laws of the world. However, with the current strength of your chaotic force, it clearly hasn't reached that level. It's completely useless against the laws of space controlled by saint rulers. Unless your chaotic force increases by a few more levels or you forge the azulate swords, you won't be able to deal with the laws of space used by saint rulers, Xing said after some thought. Jinshan frowned slightly. If that's the case, doesn't that mean I'm completely helpless against the spatial force used by saint rulers? Not necessarily. Master, have you forgotten about the movement skill called the illusory flash? It contains the laws of space. As long as you comprehend the battle skill to a certain level, you'll naturally be able to touch upon the domain of the laws of space. Once you comprehend the laws of space, you'll be able to easily deal with the spatial force used by saint rulers and escape, Qing Suo said. If that's the case, does that mean I can break through to saint ruler? Jinshin's heart beat wildly. Although he already possessed the battle prowess of a saint ruler, he was still not one. He still could not use the various abilities that saint rulers possessed. This time, Xing and Qing Suo hesitated. In the end, Qing Suo said, Master, according to my observations of the saint rulers, their comprehension of the laws of space is much more comprehensive. It's not like the illusory flash that only focuses on speed. Aside from the laws of space, they seem to be able to use the force of the world to a certain degree, because the barrier cast down by the saint rulers is formed from the force of the world. Qing Suo is correct. Master, according to our understanding of the illusory flash, there's nothing else it can do other than increase your speed and comprehend the laws of space. However, Before you reach Saint Ruler, the illusory flash is the only battle skill you can use against Saint Rulers, Xing said. Jinshin fell silent after hearing that. He murmured, "Looks like I need to focus on comprehending the illusory flash in the future." After a while of thought, Jinshin continued to ask, "Xing, Qing, so my chaotic body has already reached minor accomplishment. Just how far away am I from major accomplishment? If I reach major accomplishment, how do I compare to the legendary Holy Emperor of the Tian Yuan continent?" As soon as Jinshin finished speaking, Xing and Qing Suo both laughed. "Master, you're underestimating the chaotic body far too much. Minor accomplishment is only the beginning. There's still a very long way to go. However, there's one thing that cannot be doubted. The Holy Emperor of this continent cannot compare to the chaotic body at major accomplishment. Master, the chaotic body has never been divided into specific levels because there have been far too few people who have succeeded in cultivating the chaotic body in the past countless years. They can be counted on one hand in the entire world, and there's never been anyone who has reached major achievement in the chaotic body. However, in order to give Master a clearer understanding of the chaotic body, we'll temporarily divide it into 18 layers. Master, you've only reached the first layer, said Xing. Jinshin was secretly surprised when he heard that. The first layer of the chaotic body was enough for him to rival Saint Rulers. Just how terrifying would his strength be when he reached the highest layer? Jinshin was filled with anticipation. Afterwards, Xing and Qing Suo explained many things related to chaotic force to Jinshin, allowing Jinshin to gain an even clearer understanding of chaotic force. He was no longer as vague as before, where he knew nothing other than how powerful chaotic force was. In the following days, Jinshin remained in Longevity Valley. During the day, he would practice the illusory flash in the forest, and at night, he would stay in the wooden hut to comprehend the mysteries of the illusory flash. He hoped that he could make a new breakthrough in his comprehension of the illusory flash sooner, so that he could deal with Saint Rulers. The White Tiger did not rest during that time either. It consumed the heavenly resources Jinshin had obtained from the Grand Elder of Mercenary City to increase its strength. It slept on its wooden bed all day, waking up to eat and sleeping again. In the blink of an eye, Jinshin had already spent a month in Longevity Valley. He had made quite a bit of progress in studying the illusory flash during that month. His comprehension of the technique had deepened. Although it was still unable to rival the spatial force that Saint Rulers could control, it was without a doubt much more powerful than a month ago. In the past month, the White Tiger had successfully broken through to Class 4 with the help of a large number of heavenly treasures, reaching the realm of Class 5 magical beasts. The increase in strength did not cause the little White Tiger's appearance to change too much. It could freely control its own size, and its body was still as petite as before. It looked like a kitten, obedient and cute, and its pair of innocent little eyes became even brighter, sparkling as if they could speak. Moreover, the wings on the White Tiger's back had become even more plump. They were covered in soft, snow-white feathers. They felt warm to the touch and were extremely comfortable. In a lush forest behind Longevity Valley, a white figure constantly flickered through the air at an unbelievable speed. He moved so quickly that his entire body had become an illusionary blur. It was impossible to see his true form. It was as if he had become one with the space around him. Even though he was moving at such a fast speed, he did not even cause the slightest sound of the wind. Everything was carried out silently like a ghost. At this moment, the constantly moving figure suddenly stopped. Only then did it become clear who he was. He was a young man in rough clothes, only in his 20s. He was Jinshin. Jinshin frowned slightly. With a flip of his hand, a piece of white jade that had snapped in half silently appeared in his hand. It lay there silently. Jinshin became stern at that moment as he stared blankly at the piece of white jade in his hand. He clenched his hand and crushed the white jade into powder effortlessly, scattering it into the air. Afterwards, he flung his hand and vanished into the forest with a flash. It was impossible to see where he had gone. Jianshan returned to Longevity Valley and directly entered his room to pick up the sleeping white tiger. He then turned around and left the wooden hut, heading towards Uncle Shiomi, who was working in the fields. However, before he had even taken a few steps, his face changed. He suddenly looked towards the entrance of the valley and saw a white speck flying over. Even though it was very far away, Jianshan was still able to see it clearly with his eyesight. It was clearly an old man in rough clothes flying over with a young man. "Hi, Jianshan, I've returned. I never thought you'd be in Longevity Valley as well. This is just too great." A vigorous voice rang out from the sky. The voice was filled with excitement and spread through the entire valley, allowing all the villagers to hear it clearly. It's Little Fatty's voice. Little Fatty has returned. The young men who were working in the fields immediately threw down their hoes and rushed towards the village. That's Little Fatty's voice. The village chief must have returned as well. In the fields, a few middle-aged couples also stopped what they were doing and raised their heads to look at the sky. They watched as the two figures slowly flew into the valley and passed over their heads. Their eyes were filled with unconcealable envy and respect. The figures in the sky slowly landed in front of Jianshan. The old man was Uncle Shio. Beside him was a resolute young man filled with killing intent. At the same time, Jianshan could faintly sense a faint smell of blood from him. This was definitely a cold-blooded young man who had gone through the path of slaughter. He had undergone the baptism of blood and the test of life and death. Chapter 634. Why? You really are Little Fatty. Jianshan stared at the resolute, burly young man in a daze. He struggled to believe his eyes. Why, you're Little Fatty? Shiomi had just returned from the fields with his legs bare and a hoe on his shoulder. When he saw Little Fatty's appearance, his face was filled with shock. Was this really the son that he had in mind? The current Little Fatty was just too different from the previous Little Fatty. This was not only a change in his aura, but also in his appearance and figure. The current Little Fatty did not have a single bit of fat on his body. Instead, he had slimmed down and lost some of his simple and honest look, becoming more capable. "Father, why did you make Little Fatty like this?" Shiomi bitterly smiled at his father. "Little Fatty, why have you become so skinny? You must have suffered a lot in the past few days." Little Fatty's mother also walked out of the wooden hut. Her face was filled with undisguised pain. "Wah, Little Fatty, why have you become like this? I almost couldn't recognize you. Are you really Little Fatty? Why do I feel like I've become a stranger?" The other young men around Little Fatty's age all sighed in amazement. Disbelief filled their faces. Little Fatty scratched his head in embarrassment when he saw the shocked expressions of the people around him. He chuckled. "I don't know what happened either. It's only been a few months, but I've become like this. But don't worry, I'm still the same Little Fatty from before." Little Fatty looked at Jianshan and apologetically said, "Jianshan, I'm really sorry. I was taken out by my grandfather to train a year ago, which was why I was delayed by a year. I made you wait for so long." Jianshan chuckled. "It's fine. I've only just arrived. Little Fatty, congratulations on breaking through to Earth's Saint Master. You can be regarded as an expert on the Tianyuan continent now." Little Fatty chuckled and said, "Jianshan, I'm already an Earth Saint Master now, and my grandfather has allowed me to leave here and explore the outside world with you. May I ask when we can set off?" Little Fatty seemed to be impatient. Jianshan fell silent when he heard that. He said, "As soon as possible. Something has probably happened to my family, so I need to hurry back." "Jianshan, why don't you leave tomorrow? Little Fatty has suffered quite a lot with his grandfather, so let him rest for a day," Little Fatty's mother said. She was reluctant to part Fatty. "Yeah, I'll listen to you." Jianshan nodded. Little Fatty's sudden return forced Jianshan, who was about to leave, to stay for another day. The next morning, over 100 villagers gathered together to send off Jianshan and Little Fatty. Jianshan and Little Fatty bid farewell to the villagers one by one before leaving Longevity Valley. After the two of them left, the villagers gathered at the entrance of Longevity Valley did not disperse for a long time. They stared in the direction the two of them had left in a daze. Many of them were filled with undisguised envy and yearning. "Sigh, Uncle Shio raised his head and sighed. He said, "Originally, I didn't want little Fatty to be embroiled in the disputes of the outside world, so I wanted him to live a peaceful life here. I never thought that with Jinshin's appearance, he would still end up walking down this path. I wonder if it's a blessing or a curse." "Father, I'm actually very much in favor of little Fatty venturing out into the outside world. That's because only then can little Fatty's mind truly mature. Moreover, little Fatty's talent is not bad. If he lives a peaceful life like this, it'll just be a waste of his talent. Only by going through the trials of blood and fire, the tempering between life and death, can little Fatty's potential be unleashed, creating a firm foundation for him to reach higher cultivation realms in the future. Perhaps little Fatty will have the ability to succeed you in the future," said Shiomi. Uncle Shio fell silent for a while before gently shaking his head. He said, "No, I won't give this burden to little Fatty. It's just a heavy burden to him. Although little Fatty's talent is not bad, he's not suited to be a qualified leader." "Why? Father, this isn't a weak force," Shiomi asked in confusion. Uncle Shio gently sighed as a sliver of sorrow appeared in his eyes. He said, "Your mother died because of the Bloodsword sect. Before she died, she told me to stop participating in the conflicts of the Tianyuan continent and to find a peaceful place to live out my days in seclusion like those hermit clans. I want to enjoy the rest of my life peacefully. No matter how great your cultivation is or how great your talent is, you can't avoid being reduced to a skeleton in the end. All that remains is an empty name. In fact, what your mother said is also right. Living a normal life is also a good thing. You don't have to exhaust your body and mind for the sake of the mortal world. You can live a carefree life every day." Uncle Shio sighed and said, "Father, how do you plan on dealing with the matter of the Bloodsword sect?" Shiomi asked. Uncle Shio fell silent for a while before replying, "I think Jinshin is a pretty good choice. He's extremely outstanding in every aspect, and his potential in particular has even amazed me. He's reached Heaven's Saint Master at such a young age. His future accomplishments will definitely not be any less than mine." Jinshin flew with little Fatty in the air above the mountain range. He flew out of the Cross Mountains extremely quickly. The white tiger that had roused from its slumber lay on Jinshin's shoulder quietly. Its beady eyes shone brightly as it constantly glanced below. Woo-woo! Suddenly, the white tiger produced a happy cry. With a flap of its wings, it immediately flew off from Jinshin's shoulder and disappeared into the lush forest below. Soon, it returned with a fist-sized fruit in its mouth. It landed on Jinshin's shoulder and immediately ate it in large bites. Jinshin stared at the white tiger in some surprise. He smiled, and I had thought that the little thing's wings were just for decoration. I never thought that it could actually fly. I finally witnessed it today. Little Fatty also looked at the white tiger. He said, "Jinshin, I can sense that the white tiger is very powerful. Has it already become a Class 5 magical beast?" "That's right. Little White just broke through to the Class 5 magical beast level a few days ago. Little Fatty, I remember that you have never come into contact with a Class 5 magical beast before. How did you sense Little White's strength?" Jinshin asked curiously. Little Fatty chuckled and said, "Some time ago, I was brought to an unknown place by my grandfather. I fought with all kinds of magical beasts all day long. Therefore, I am very familiar with the aura of Class 5 magical beasts. Naturally, I can sense it." At this moment, Jinshin's face suddenly changed. His body that was flying in the air slowly came to a stop. His expression also became uncertain, because all of a sudden, the blood in Jinshin's body began to boil like boiling water. It flowed in his body at a speed 10 times faster than normal. The intense heat it emitted caused Jinshin's body temperature to rapidly rise. "Jinshin, what's wrong?" Little Fatty asked in confusion as he stared at Jinshin's constantly changing expression. Jinshin remained silent. He did not know why his body had suddenly become like this. This was the first time he had encountered something like this. Is there a problem with the chaotic body? Jinshin's heart skipped a beat. When he thought of this possibility, he did not dare to tarry. He immediately called out to the sword spirits in his head to ask about the situation. Master, your blood contains the anti-venom of the golden-striped silver snake. This reaction is caused by the anti-venom in your blood. Golden-striped silver snakes are an extremely rare species, so they'll definitely react when they're separated by a certain distance. I think there's definitely another golden-striped silver snake nearby, and it's not weak either. It's extremely likely to be a Class 7 magical beast, said Ziying. Hearing this, Jinshin's face changed. Without another word, he immediately left with Little Fatty. The silver-striped golden snake was an extremely rare variant. It was extremely powerful, much more powerful than ordinary magical beasts. It was very difficult to deal with. Now that he had Little Fatty with him, it was not suitable for him to clash with the silver-striped golden snake. Jinshin quickly flew out of the Cross Mountains and did not slow down at all as he flew towards Mercenary City. After 2 days of nonstop travel, he finally arrived at Mercenary City. As soon as he entered the city, Jinshan found Wang Yifeng and the Jita family's ancestor, Jita Tai, waiting for him at the inn. Jinshin and Wang Yifeng exchanged a few pleasantries before gradually introducing each other to each other. However, Jinshin did not reveal Jita Tai's identity and only gave a vague introduction. After everyone had gotten to know each other, Wang Yifeng and Little Fatty got to know each other very quickly. They laughed and chatted nonstop with Little Fatty in a very friendly manner. Jinshin called Jita Tai into his room and fed the white tiger a large amount of heavenly resources to make it fall asleep. Only then did he say to Jita Tai, "Come with me to the Cross Mountains immediately." What to the Cross Mountains? Jita Tai was shocked, and his eyes were filled with deep fear. He immediately rejected the idea. No, that is a forbidden area for all the powerhouses of the Tianyuan continent. You cannot go there unless you have the strength of the Holy Emperor. Jinshin knew what Jita Tai was afraid of and said, "Don't worry, we are not going to the depths of the Cross Mountains. We are only going to the outskirts. I know a little about the Cross Mountains, and I will not die for nothing." Hearing that they were not going to the depths of the Cross Mountains, Jita Tai let out a sigh of relief and said, "As long as we are not going to the depths, nothing will happen in the outskirts. But what are you going to do there? Time is of the essence. Come with me now, and you will know what I'm going to do when we get there." Jinshan gently placed the sleeping white tiger on the bed and turned to leave the room. Jita Tai followed closely behind Jinshin. After that, Jinshan gave Wang Yifeng and Little Fatty a few more orders before leaving Mercenary City and heading towards the Cross Mountains with the Jita family's ancestor. Chapter 635. 2 days later, in the sky above the endless Cross Mountain range, 2 figures streaked across the sky like streaks of light before finally coming to a stop above a mountain peak. It should be around here. Jinshin's luxurious robes fluttered violently in the wind as he scanned the area below him with a serious expression. The ancestor of the Jita family, Jita Tai, had white hair and a youthful complexion. He wore a white robe as he hovered beside Jinshin. His eyes shone brightly as he scanned the area and asked, "Jinshin, what are you doing here? Are you here to hunt a powerful magical beast? There should be a powerful golden-striped silver snake nearby. I want to see if I can tame it." Jinshin whispered. Jita Tai's expression changed at the mention of the golden-striped silver snake. He exclaimed, "The golden-striped silver snake is a member of the royal family of snakes and is extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. It is an ancient beast with an extremely powerful battle prowess. Its venom is especially potent, ranking in the top 3 of all the poisons on the Tianyuan continent. It is not easy to deal with, and taming it will not be easy. Unless you do it while it is still young, once it matures and possesses a certain level of intelligence, it will be impossible to tame it." Jinshin found Jita Tai's words to be very reasonable. He pondered for a moment before nodding. The golden-striped silver snake is just too rare on the Tianyuan continent. Regardless of whether I can tame it or not, I must go and take a look. Jita Tai, you stay here and watch over it. I will go and find its nest. If I need your help, I will call for you. Don't be reckless. The venom released by the silver-striped golden snake is very strong. There is no antidote in the world that can cure it. Although you have a strong physique, you still haven't mastered the power of space. If you encounter a silver-striped golden snake that has the strength of a Class 6 magical beast, you won't be able to deal with its venom. If you are poisoned, it will be troublesome, Jitatai said with a serious face. Although he was still a little dissatisfied with being Jinshin's lackey, he was also a person with foresight. He knew that Jinshin's talent was terrifying, and if he followed him, he might be able to gain unexpected benefits in the future. Even if he couldn't break through to the Holy Emperor realm like Jinshin had said, he would at least be able to gain a powerful backer for the Jita family. Don't worry, I have my own ways to deal with his poison, Jinshin said without a care, ignoring the fact that he had already cultivated the body of 10,000 poisons. Just the primal chaos body gave him a very strong resistance to poison. After that, Jinshin had Jitatai stay where he was while he went to look for the silver-striped golden snake's lair alone. Jinshin used the boiling blood in his body as a response while using the senses of his soul to search a radius of several dozen kilometers. Finally, he locked onto a tall mountain peak 20 kilometers away. The senses of his soul enveloped the entire mountain peak. As expected, he found a cave in an extremely well-hidden location halfway up the mountain. His senses passed through the cave, but he did not discover the existence of the golden-striped silver snake. As expected, it is a silver-striped golden snake that has reached the 7th rank. Jinshin murmured to himself. He immediately descended from the sky and landed in front of the hidden cave. He smashed a stone slab, blocking the entrance to the cave with a single punch before walking in with large strides. The cave was very deep, twisting and turning all the way down into the ground. It was pitch black, but the darkness didn't affect Jinshin at all. It was as bright as day in his eyes. Jinshin walked down the cave for several hundred meters before finally arriving in a huge cave 1,000 meters in diameter. The walls of the cave were covered with fist-sized luminous pearls that emitted a gentle white light, illuminating the entire cave. In the center of the cave, there was a 2-meter-tall stone platform. A 2-meter-long golden snake with the thickness of a finger was coiled on top of the platform. 2 lines of gold and silver intersected on its back. The snake's thumb-sized head was raised high, and its small eyes stared at Jinshin, the uninvited guest. Jinshin smiled as he stared at the golden snake. Although the small snake looked unremarkable, he didn't dare to underestimate it in the slightest. He cupped his hands and said, "I am Jinshin. Today, I have rashly come to visit. If I have been disrespectful, please forgive me. Human, you have some guts. You actually dared to intrude into my cave. You really don't know the difference between life and death." The golden snake's mouth slightly opened and closed as it spoke. Its voice was like muffled thunder that echoed throughout the cave. From that sharp voice, it was impossible to distinguish whether it was a man or a woman. Jinshin didn't care about the silver-striped golden snake's threat at all. He continued to smile and said, "Sir, I have specially come to visit today because I have something to offer. This item should be of great help to you." Hearing this, the silver-striped golden snake's small eyes flickered as it said, "I can sense the scent of my kind on you. You once used the blood of my kind to refine a body that is impervious to poison." "That's right. I once encountered a young, golden-striped silver snake in a magical beast mountain range. It took me a Herculean effort to kill it and obtain its body. I then used its blood essence to cultivate a body that was impervious to all poisons. I still have its body with me to this day, and it's in perfect condition." Jinshin immediately took out the corpse of the silver-striped golden snake that had been stored in his space ring for several years. Due to the lack of air and time within the space ring, the time inside was equivalent to a straight line. As a result, the corpse of the silver-striped golden snake that Jinshin had killed all those years ago still retained its original appearance, without the slightest change. As soon as it saw the corpse of its kind in Jinshin's hands, the silver-striped golden snake's eyes burned intensely. Soon after, with a flash of golden light, it pounced towards Jinshin with extreme speed. It opened its mouth and bit towards the corpse in Jinshin's hands. Jinshin faintly smiled and used the illusory flash. He casually took a step forward and instantly crossed a distance of over 10 meters to avoid the silver, striped gold snake's ambush. With a flip of his hand, he immediately stored the corpse of the silver, striped gold snake into a space ring. Hiss! The silver, striped golden snake spat out. It turned into a golden streak of light and shot towards Jianshun with even greater speed. It opened its mouth wide, revealing its sharp fangs, and directly bit towards Jianshun's neck. With a thought, Jianshun filled his body with chaotic force, pushing the defenses of the chaotic body to the limits. He then clenched his hand into a fist and punched towards the silver, striped golden snake. Bang! The fist and the silver, striped golden snake collided, producing a heavy sound. The entire cave shook. The silver, striped golden snake had never thought that Jianshun's punch would be so powerful. Caught off guard, its petite body was directly blown away. It heavily slammed into the wall behind it, creating a huge hole in it. After the clash, the silver, striped golden snake seemed to understand that Jianshun was not as easy to deal with as it had imagined him to be. It hovered in the air and scathed as it stared at Jianshun with its beady eyes. It said, "You're not weak, but you're still not my opponent. Give me the corpse of one of your kind, and I'll spare your life." Jianshun swung his slightly numb right arm. He was also surprised by the silver, striped golden snake's defenses. He said, "I've specially come today to offer you this, but there's no such thing as a free lunch in the world. It took me a lot of effort to obtain this, so I can't just give it to you for free." "Then what do you want from me?" The silver, striped golden snake asked. "I want you to follow me for 10 years. The item in my hand will naturally belong to you," said Jianshun. The silver, striped golden snake's eyes shone with an ominous light as a powerful killing intent radiated from its body. It laughed out of anger and said, "Human, you're far too naive. You want me, the great newbies, to follow you for 10 years? Even the Holy Emperor doesn't have the qualifications, let alone you." Jianshun chuckled and said, "I think you should know better than me just how important the corpses of your own kind are to you. The silver, striped golden snake is an ancient beast, so it has many strange aspects to it. The greatest difference between it and normal magical beasts is that it can evolve by consuming the corpses of its own kind. Not only will its strength increase by a large margin, its battle prowess will also increase by a large margin. It's just a pity that the silver-striped golden snake is just too rare on the Tianyuan continent. It's extremely difficult to even find one. So this has put an end to your greed of consuming your own kind to quickly increase your strength. The one in my hand right now is something that you can only come across by chance. Although it only has the strength of a Class 3 magical beast, it will still be of great help to you. I'm using it to exchange for 10 years of your time, so you don't seem to be losing out at all. Instead, you've profited greatly. Human, what you said is correct. Swallowing our own kind can indeed allow us to evolve. This is because within us golden-striped silver snakes, there's a type of origin essence that only we can discover. Moreover, only we can absorb it. This origin essence is extremely beneficial to us. If we absorb a certain amount of origin essence, it can even allow us to evolve into the legendary divine beasts. However, have you ever thought that if I kill you, I can still obtain the corpse of my own kind from you? As it spoke, the body of the silver-striped golden snake in the air rapidly changed, turning into a skinny young man very quickly. He wore golden clothes, had golden eyes, and long golden hair. He was extremely handsome, and from his appearance, he was around the same age as Jianshun. They were both in their early 20s. Chapter 636. Jianshun's words seemed to provoke the silver-striped gold snake's great dignity as a member of the royal snake clan. A scarlet light flickered in the eyes of the golden-robed young man. Powerful killing intent radiated from him without any concealment. He coldly said, "Human, since you're so confident, let me, the great newbies, see just how powerful you are." With that, a dense silver light radiated from the young man, enveloping his entire body. Afterwards, the silver light shot out from the young man's body as countless threads, wrapping around Jianshun with lightning speed. Jianshan did not dodge. He allowed the silver threads to wrap around him. In the blink of an eye, Jianshan was completely wrapped up by the silver threads, making him seem like a huge silkworm's egg. After wrapping around Jianshan, the silver threads immediately began to tighten, wrapping around every inch of Jianshan's body like a huge python. Every single thread was as tough as steel and as sharp as a blade. Jianshan felt like countless blades were cutting at his body. If it were not for his chaotic body's supreme defense, he probably would have been cut to pieces long ago. Chaotic force slowly flowed through Jianshan's body, covering every inch of his body. Suddenly, Jianshan bellowed out, and his entire body shook violently, dispersing the countless silver threads around him. He then looked at the young man indifferently and said, "Is this all that the famed golden-striped silver snake has? Use your full strength, or it's impossible for you to defeat me." As he said that, Jianshan used the illusory flash. With a single movement, he arrived before the young man and threw a punch. "The toughness of your body has shocked me. Are you really a human?" The young man's voice was filled with surprise. He stared at Jianshan's fist coldly, but he did not slow down at all. He also threw a punch at Jianshan's fist with tremendous force. Boom! When the two fists collided, a violent rumbling sound burst out. The powerful energy swept out in all directions, causing the entire cave to shake violently. Huge rocks fell from above, and countless cracks appeared all around the cave. The golden-clothed young man was sent flying by the punch. Once again, he slammed into the wall behind him, creating a huge hole in the wall. His entire body sank into the hole. Even though the young man was transformed from a golden-striped silver snake and possessed astonishing toughness and strength, how could his body compare to Jianshan, who had cultivated the chaotic body? The young man made his way out of the hole very quickly. Although he seemed to be in a rather horrible shape right now, he was not actually injured. However, his face became rather stern. He no longer dared to look down on Jianshan like before. His right arm that he hid behind his back gently trembled as well. This time, the golden-robed young man had clearly suffered a great loss in this exchange. "You really are a beast of antiquity after all. Your body really is tough. My punch actually failed to break your right arm." Jianshan smiled faintly. He was rather surprised by the toughness of a Class 7 magical beast body. It was far, far more powerful than a human saint ruler. "You can actually suppress me with just your physical strength? Impossible. It's impossible for a human to possess such a powerful body. Could it be that you're not just a human, but a war god from the 100 ancient races?" The golden-robed young man growled. He was no longer as confident as before. "What war god of the 100 races? I'm not a member of the 100 races. I'm a true human," Jianshan smiled. "How is this possible? How can a human possess such a tough body? It's even tougher than my body as a magical beast." The young man's face was filled with disbelief. Jianshan could not be bothered to explain to him. He said, "How about it? Can you consider my offer from before? Follow me for 10 years, and I'll use the corpses of your kind as payment. That's the only way you can obtain corpses of your kind, because it's impossible for you to kill me." The young man's face sank when he heard that he would have to follow Jianshan for 10 years. He coldly snorted, "It's not that easy to make the great newbies follow you for 10 years. The battle has only just begun. Your body is very tough, but I still have many ways to heavily injure you or even eliminate you." "Really? Then let me see what you're capable of." Jianshan sneered. He arrived before the young man with the phantom of 1,000 illusions. Chaotic force surged within him as he punched at the young man's face viciously. Wherever the fist passed by, the space there would tremble violently, which was more than enough to demonstrate the power of the punch. After suffering once, the young man understood the power of Jianshan's punch. He did not take it on forcefully. Instead, he used spatial force to arrive behind Jianshan in a single instance. A layer of fine, golden scales extended from his body, covering his entire right hand. His right hand then turned into a claw and reached toward Jianshan's back with lightning speed. Spurt! The young man's sharp claw pierced through the defenses of the chaotic body and stabbed into Jianshan's body. However, As soon as his fingers reached Jinshin's flesh, they were stopped by an extremely great force. No matter how much strength he exerted, he was unable to advance any further. A cold light flickered through Jinshin's eyes. Strands of chaotic force surged out of his Nidan, surging through his body like wild horses. They all gathered towards the wound on his back, viciously striking the young man's fingers. The young man trembled violently. He quickly withdrew his claw from Jinshin's body as if he had been electrocuted. He felt a great pain from his fingertips, but he was extremely shocked because the bones at the tips of his fingers had been broken. What kind of power is this? It's so powerful. Is he really a war god of the 100 races? Aside from the war gods of the 100 races, it's impossible for a human to possess such a great body and strength, the young man thought as the light in his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Jinshin did not give the golden-robed young man any time to think. He immediately turned around and threw a punch at the golden-robed young man with great force. The golden-clothed youth used spatial force to rapidly retreat, appearing 10 meters away in an instant. However, Jinshin was already prepared for this move. He immediately used the illusory flash, leaving behind an afterimage as he arrived before the golden-clothed youth in the blink of an eye. His fist continued to fly towards the golden-clothed youth's face. Chapter 637. The golden-robed youth's world force collided with Jinshin's primal chaos force. There was no sound, but there was an extremely powerful burst of energy that caused space to shatter, the cave to collapse, and the hard rocks in the surroundings to be reduced to dust. The cave shook violently and had completely collapsed. Huge rocks rolled down from above, bringing with them a cloud of dust. Below Jinshin and the golden-robed youth, there was nothing but a vacuum. The two of them hovered in the air, using their own abilities. Because the ground had been destroyed, only a huge black hole of unknown depth was left. The luminous pearls that were embedded in the walls of the cave had been reduced to dust, and the entire cave had been plunged into darkness. Jinshin's body suddenly flashed with a layer of faint green light. This was the symbol of the wind elemental energy. Wrapped in the wind elemental energy, he quickly rose into the air and flew upwards. At the same time, the origin energy of the azure sword spirits appeared in his right hand. In an instant, it elongated into a divine sword that was over 20 meters long. It crushed the huge rocks that were falling down from above, clearing away all obstacles. The golden-robed youth let out a thick layer of golden light and turned into a small golden snake that was over 2 meters long. With a flash of golden light, the golden-robed youth flew upwards at an extremely fast speed, piercing through the thick rocks like a hot knife through butter. He shot up into the sky like a bolt of lightning and returned to his human form. In just an instant, Jinshin and the golden-robed youth flew out of the cave and hovered in the air again. Below the two of them, the towering mountain that was 1,000 meters tall had already sunk. The ground within a dozen kilometers was rapidly sinking, as if the end of the world had arrived. It was a spectacular sight. In the distance, a white figure silently arrived and stopped to watch from afar. It was the ancestor of the Jita family, Jita. He had also been attracted by the huge commotion. That golden-clothed young man has an aura that only magical beasts possess, and those that can transform into human form are all magical beasts of the 7th rank. That's actually a 7th rank magical beast. Could it be that his original form is the ancient golden-striped silver snake? Jita stared at the golden-robed youth and whispered with curiosity. Golden-striped silver snakes were extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. He had lived for so long, but he had only heard of them and had never seen one. Today was the first time he had seen one, and it was a Class 7 magical beast. If it were a Class 6 silver-striped golden snake, a saint ruler could use spatial force to keep the venom at bay. But if it were a Class 7 silver-striped golden snake, then a saint ruler spatial force would no longer have any advantage. Aside from its venom, the silver snake's battle prowess. I wonder if Jinshin's a Class 7 silver-striped silver snake. Jita muttered under his breath. A rank 7 silver-striped golden-striped snake was giving him a headache. However, when he thought of Jianshen's abnormally powerful body, he understood. He said in a low voice, "However, this Jianshen isn't simple either. His body's defense is abnormally strong. Even my full-strength attack couldn't heavily injure him. In my opinion, unless this golden-striped silver snake strength has reached the 6th heavenly layer, it would be very difficult for it to injure Jianshen. However, wanting to tame a golden-striped silver snake that has reached the 7th heavenly layer with just this point is simply a fool's dream." A few kilometers away, Jianshen and the golden-clothed young man hovered 1,000 meters in the air, looking at each other from 100 meters away. Jianshen's expression was the same as usual, appearing extremely calm. However, the golden-clothed young man's eyebrows were tightly knitted together, and his expression had become much more serious. Jianshen before him was much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Although he was confident that his overall strength was much greater than Jianshen's, it would be very difficult for him to kill Jianshen. Snatching the corpse of a fellow saint from him would not be easy either. What troubled him the most was that Jianshen had actually used the essence blood of a fellow saint to cultivate a body that was impervious to poison. This prevented him from using his poison at all. This was because Jianshen's blood already possessed a very powerful poison resistance factor. Even though the poison of a Class 7 magical beast was much more powerful than that of a Class 3 magical beast, it was still unable to harm Jianshen. You should understand now. You can't kill me at all, and you can't forcefully take away what I possess. There's only one way to obtain it. Follow me for 10 years. 10 years isn't a long time for you. You won't suffer any losses, and you might even profit greatly. Consider it carefully, said Jianshen. The golden-clothed young man fell silent. The light in his eyes constantly flickered. It was unknown what he was thinking. Jianshen waited for a while before continuing. I'm very pressed for time. I don't have that much time to waste here. I'll give you 10 more minutes to consider. If you're unwilling, I'll just take the item and leave, and you'll lose the chance to obtain what I possess. Once I set foot in the human world, it'll be very difficult for you to find me. The golden-clothed young man clenched his fists tightly. His eyes flickered with scarlet light as slivers of killing intent leaked out. Jianshen sneered when he sensed the killing intent in the golden-clothed young man's eyes. He said, I know your true strength isn't limited to this, but you must have seen how powerful my body is as well. It's impossible for you to kill me or even heavily injure me. If I want to leave, you won't be able to stop me at all. Not to mention, I have a powerful expert with me. Human, I'm a magical beast. If I follow you to the human world, aren't you afraid of causing trouble for you? The golden-clothed young man asked coldly. Jianshen shook his head. There are many magical beasts in the human world as well, and there's no lack of powerful magical beasts among them. Although I know that there's a treaty between humans and magical beasts, this treaty is limited to the Gilligan clan. You're not a member of the Gilligan clan, so if you follow me to the human world, the human experts won't cause trouble for you. You sure know a lot, but how do you know I'm not a member of the Gilligan clan? The golden-clothed young man asked. Jianshen smiled faintly. The treaty between us humans and the Gilligan clan forbids the Class 7 magical beasts of the Gilligan clan from taking a single step out of the depths of the Cross Mountains. However, you're a Class 7 magical beast, yet you're cultivating in the outskirts of the Cross Mountains. You're even calmly fighting against me. You're not worried about the human experts causing trouble for you at all. If I still can't guess that you're not a member of the Gilligan clan from this, then I'd be far too stupid. You've guessed correctly. I really am not a member of the Gilligan clan. A sliver of disdain appeared in the young man's eyes as soon as the Gilligan clan was mentioned. He said, the Gilligan clan is only a chess piece that the Beast God continent has planted on the Tianyuan continent. How can I, the great newbies, become a chess piece for someone else? The young man held his head high. His face was filled with pride. Jianshen felt the urge to laugh as soon as he heard the words, the great newbies. The golden-striped silver snake before him seemed to be very prideful, treating him like a noble young master. However, he had the right to be prideful. Not only was he powerful, but he was also a beast of antiquity. It's already been a little over half the time. Have you made up your mind? Jinshin asked. The golden-robed young man fell silent. He was born with a sense of pride and would never lower himself to be someone's lackey. However, he really did desire the corpses of his own kind very much, because the corpses of his own kind possessed essence that only he could sense and absorb. The essence was just too important to him, so he could not give it up. All right, human, you win. The great newbies, will temporarily follow you for 10 years. Once the 10 years are up, we will have nothing to do with each other. A while later, the young man finally compromised. The temptation of the corpses of his own kind was just far too great. He could not refuse at all. All right, it's a deal. Jinshin was overjoyed. With the addition of a Class 7 magical beast, his strength had taken a qualitative leap once again. A large sect like the Dragon and Tiger sect no longer posed any threat to Jinshin. However, we need to make things clear first. During the 10 years that I follow you, you cannot make me do anything that is devoid of conscience and provoke the Celestial's decay. At the same time, I have the right to refuse things that I don't want to do, the young man said. Jinshin thought about it for a while before nodding in agreement. He said, "No problem. I can promise you that. However, you can't just stand by and watch when we encounter difficulties and need your help." All right, deal. The young man agreed very straightforwardly to Jinshin's suggestion. Jinshin revealed a happy smile. Although the young man could only follow him for 10 years, it was enough for him to do many things. Jinshin took out the corpse of the golden-striped silver snake he had obtained a few years ago from a space ring and tossed it to the young man. "This is yours." The corpse of the golden-striped silver snake hovered before the young man. He stared at the corpse of his own kind with burning desire as unconcealable excitement filled his face. Afterwards, he looked at Jinshin and said, "Do you trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word? You're a member of the royal family of snakes. You possess an innate pride, so you'll naturally keep your word. I believe that you're not someone who goes back on his word," said Jinshin. Chapter 638. Jinshin chuckled. "My name is Jinshin. You could just call me by my name from now on. Your name should be Newbies, right? I'll call you by that name from now on." Jinshin was overjoyed at the completion of his mission. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Newbies, the two of them had become allies. In the next 10 years, the two of them would fight side by side. Jinshin and Newbies walked side by side from afar until they arrived in front of Jeditai. Seeing Jeditai's strange expression, Jinshin couldn't help but smile. "We're all on the same side from now on. Let me introduce you to each other. This is Newbies, a Class 7 golden-striped silver snake of antiquity. This is Jeditai, a human expert. It's the great Newbies." The golden-robed young man corrected him with some dissatisfaction. He cared a lot about the first two words. "Great Mr. Newbies, Jeditai greets you." Jeditai didn't dare to be negligent in front of a golden-striped silver snake of antiquity. He immediately clasped his hands at Newbies. However, he wasn't as calm as he seemed on the surface. He found it hard to believe that Jinshin had actually managed to tame a Class 7 golden-striped silver snake of antiquity. This was an incredible matter. Newbies looked at Jeditai arrogantly and said, "Third heavenly layer saint ruler, barely passable." Jeditai's expression changed slightly. Newbies' condescending words made him very unhappy. If he was facing a human saint ruler, he probably would have fallen out with him immediately. However, when he thought of Newbies' golden-striped silver snake, he could only suppress his anger helplessly. He didn't dare to show it. After all, he was not like Jinshin, who was immune to all poisons and was not afraid of the silver-striped gold snake's venom. The venom released by the Class 7 silver-striped gold snake was enough to injure Jeditai. "Great Sir Newbies, we'll all be comrades on the same side for the next period of time. I hope you can get along well with us and don't cause too much unhappiness," Newbies said with a smile. Jinshin's expression darkened. Newbies had been looking down on Jeditai the moment he arrived, and this made him feel a little displeased. Although Jeditai was only his lackey, he was still a Saint King level hermit with his own dignity. How could he be humiliated and mocked like this? "All right, I'll listen to you. Newbie shrugged. His innate pride seemed to only be slightly restrained in front of Jinshin. However, Jinshin's words warmed Jiedatai's heart. It was a simple sentence, but it made Jiedatai look at Jinshin in a different light. Jinshin's position in Jiedatai's heart had also increased slightly. After that, Jinshin and the other two did not stay for long. They quickly left and headed for Mercenary City. Not long after the three of them had left, an old man in plain robes silently appeared. He stared in the direction that the three of them had left in and murmured, "I never thought that Jinshin's strength would reach such a level in just a year. Even that little snake can't do anything to him. This really surprises me. However, why is his body so tough? Is he really a war god of the 100 races reincarnated?" The old man pondered for a while before shaking his head. His body is completely different from the war god of the 100 races, so it shouldn't be him. Looks like he's cultivated a secret technique that allows him to have such a tough body. Experts below the 5th heavenly layer of saint rulers will find it difficult to heavily injure him. If that's the case, I'll be much more at ease with little Fatty by his side. Looks like he'll be able to meet my requirements before long. With that, the old man's body gradually faded away before vanishing completely. It was actually not his original body, but a clone condensed from the world force. Jinshin and the other two arrived at Mercenary City after 2 days of travel. However, only Jinshin and Jiedatai had entered the city. Newbies did not dare to advance any further when he was 1,000 kilometers away from Mercenary City. This was because Mercenary City forbade high-class magical beasts from entering. Only magical beast mounts were allowed to enter freely. Jinshin was worried that something would happen to his family due to the destruction of the twin stones he carried. As a result, he did not stay in Mercenary City for even a little longer. He hurriedly left after calling Little Fatty and Wang Yifeng, meeting up with newbies 1,000 kilometers away. Just as Jinshin approached newbies' expression suddenly changed. His eyes immediately widened as he stared at the white tiger lying on Jinshin's shoulder. His face was full of disbelief. The moment he saw the white tiger, newbies could no longer maintain his composure and cried out involuntarily, This is, how is this possible? It actually appeared in this world again. Even though the white tiger had only just entered the 5th rank and was still very weak in newbies' eyes, the pressure from its bloodline caused newbies to reveal a look of shock. The threat from its bloodline was just too powerful. He swore that he had never felt such a powerful pressure before. Even a magical beast at the level of the human Holy Emperor would not be able to make him feel so pressured. The pressure was so powerful that it even made his soul tremble. He did not dare to think of resisting at all. He had the urge to immediately kneel and submit. As a golden-striped silver snake of antiquity and a knowledgeable magical beast of the 7th rank, newbies naturally understood just how powerful a magical beast that could make him feel so pressured was. Coupled with the obvious characteristics of the white tiger, newbies immediately guessed the true identity of the white tiger. He was immediately filled with shock and disbelief. Looking at newbies' expression, Jinshin knew that the identity of the white tiger had already been discovered by newbies. However, he did not panic in the slightest. Such an outcome was already within his expectations. "Great Sir Newbies, I hope you can keep this a secret." Jinshin came to Newbies' side and said in an almost inaudible voice. Newbies was still in shock as he stared at the white tiger sleeping on Jinshin's shoulder. He then turned to Jinshin and said in a serious tone, "Jinshin, could it be that you know its identity?" Jinshin nodded and let Jiedatai hover in the air with Wang Yifeng and Little Fatty. He himself came to Newbies' side and pulled Newbies away from Jiedatai. In a low voice, he said, "Great Sir Newbies, the winged tiger is an ancient divine beast. It will definitely become the true king of the magical beasts in the future. Furthermore, it is still in its infancy, so it is the best time to cultivate a relationship with it. This is a great opportunity for you. I'm sure you know just how terrifying the ancient divine beast winged tiger is." Newbies' eyes lit up and he clenched his fists tightly. He was not an ignorant person. Jinshin's words immediately made him think of many things. He knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him, and he must not miss it. Furthermore, as a magical beast, he definitely knew more about the strength of the winged tiger than humans. Once the winged tiger really matured, there would be no power in this world that could stop it. "Don't worry, I know what to do." Newbies gave Jinshin a reassuring look, allowing Jinshin to completely relax. Jinshin breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Let's go." Following that, Jinshin and the rest hurried towards the Qin Empire. Newbies quickly regained his composure and flew beside Jinshin as if nothing had happened. However, his eyes would occasionally fall on the white tiger, and there was a faint trace of fear in the depths of his eyes. Newbies' previous loss of composure fell into Jitai's eyes, and Jitai finally began to take the white tiger that Jinshin had always brought along with him. Although he had long known of the white tiger's existence, he had only thought that it was a magical beast cub that Jinshin had raised and did not take it to heart. Only now did he realize that he had been mistaken. Just what is the origin of this magical beast cub? It actually made the ancient divine beast silver striped golden snake lose its composure. Jitai secretly thought to himself. He was very curious about the white tiger's identity. While Jinshin and the rest were on their way to the Qin Empire, in the kingdom closest to Mercenary City, within a first-class city, the same tall and sturdy man was sitting on a stool with his arms crossed and his legs crossed. Opposite him was the same old man who had received him before. "Esteemed sir, we have urgently invited you here this time, because we have something important to report to you. Our spies have already obtained the latest news. Jinshin has already left Mercenary City and is currently heading towards the Qin Empire. Moreover, according to what I know, the Qin Empire seems to have gained another imperial protector, and this imperial protector's name just so happens to be Jinshin. I'm guessing that they are most likely the same person," said the old man. A gleam of light immediately flashed through the eyes of the middle-aged man. He said, "That's very good news. You've done well. Take it. This is your reward. Take the rest as a reward." The middle-aged man directly tossed an exquisite space ring onto the table before leaving in a hurry. Jinshin's group had traveled over 100,000 kilometers over 2 days before finally arriving at a fortress on the border of the Qin Empire. Without resting for a moment, they directly flew towards the imperial palace of the Qin Empire. However, they did not notice that in the sky, there was a thin and almost invisible shadow floating there. From the shadow, it was not difficult to see that it was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man. He had a ferocious face and looked very valiant. Chapter 639. The middle-aged man's gaze was completely drawn away by the winged tiger on Jinshin's shoulder. The Tianyuan continent was so large, so he was extremely surprised that he could find the winged tiger in such a short amount of time. He also felt some excitement. A while later, the middle-aged man finally shifted his gaze from the white tiger to the golden-robed newbies. A sliver of surprise immediately flashed through his eyes. He said in surprise, "That's actually newbies. Why is newbies with them?" The middle-aged man pondered slightly before saying, "With his strength, he should be able to sense the power of the winged tiger's bloodline. Looks like he's already made his choice. He plans on assisting the winged tiger's growth, but only death awaits him if he does that. I just never thought that Jinshin would have a human saint ruler and a class 7 golden-striped silver snake by his side. Although I can kill them, it'll definitely alarm the saint rulers of the Qin Empire. At the same time, we're just too close to Mercenary City. Once the supreme experts of Mercenary City discover that I've entered the human world, I'll be in danger as well. Looks like I can't act recklessly right now. Whatever, I'll let you live for a few more days," the middle-aged man thought. The middle-aged man calmly pondered, and the illusory body gradually disappeared from the 10,000 meters in the sky, completely disappearing. Jinshin and the others did not realize that they had been followed at all. They traveled in a straight line toward the imperial palace of the Qin Empire, arriving in the imperial city of the Qin Empire before long. Under Jinshin's signal, they all descended from the sky and chose to walk toward the imperial palace. With Jinshin's identity as the imperial protector, He was able to enter the imperial palace without any obstructions, even though he had to bring a few strangers with him. Wherever he passed, people would greet Jinshin politely. At this moment, four tremendous presences radiated from the Qin Empire. They were like four ancient beasts that had awakened from their slumber. Their presences surged into the sky, enveloping the entire region and causing the surrounding air to freeze at that moment. Four figures flew out from the various halls of the imperial palace at the same time. They left behind blurs in the air as if they were moving through space. They shot toward Jinshin's group with unbelievable speed, surrounding them in a square. Greetings to the four seniors. Jinshin remained calm as he greeted the four people with a smile. He knew that these four people were the Qin Empire's imperial protector. They were all Saint Kings, and he had met two of them before. Jinshin, it's actually you. A middle-aged man looked at Jinshin in surprise. He then glanced at newbies and Jietai in golden robes. He frowned and asked, Jinshin, may I ask who these two are? With his strength, he could naturally sense that newbies and Jietai were both Saint Kings. Four seniors. These two are Jietai and newbies. They are both good friends of mine. Jinshin explained with a smile. Hearing this, the four imperial protector of the Qin Empire were all shocked. They stared at Jinshin in shock. They had never thought that Jinshin would actually have two Saint Kings as his good friends. This was a force that even the Qin Empire had to pay attention to. It's the great newbies. Newbies glared and shouted in dissatisfaction. The great newbies, just how great are you? Why can't I see it at all? Wang Yifeng laughed at newbies. When Wang Yifeng's words fell into newbies' ears, the proud newbies immediately took it as an insult and provocation. This was especially so when Wang Yifeng was a weakling who couldn't even compare to an ant in his eyes. How could he, who was born with pride, accept this insult? Newbies' face immediately darkened. His eyes flashed with a red light. A powerful aura radiated from his body and pressed down on Wang Yifeng. He grabbed Wang Yifeng's neck and said coldly, Brat, how dare you speak to the great newbies like this? Are you tired of living? Do you believe that I, the great newbies, will kill you right now? Wang Yifeng's neck was tightly gripped by newbies. His whole body couldn't move at all. A suffocating feeling came from his chest. This made him feel that he was so close to death at this moment. Especially when he saw newbies' red eyes, he didn't doubt that the other party would really kill him in a fit of anger. Newbies, what are you doing? Let go. Jinshin shouted. His eyes suddenly became sharp, like a sword that was unsheathed. Newbies' behavior made Jinshin very angry. After all, Wang Yifeng was one of them, not an enemy. Newbies tilted his head and glanced at Jinshin. He shrugged and said, Brat, I'll forgive you this time for Jinshin's sake. Remember, don't speak to me, the great newbies, like that in the future. Otherwise, even if you have a good relationship with Jinshin, I, the great newbies, will kill you without any hesitation. Newbies let go of Wang Yifeng's hand, and Wang Yifeng immediately knelt on the ground as he gasped for breath. His forehead was covered in sweat. You're not a human. You're a magical beast. An imperial protector from the Qin Empire growled. They could all sense newbies' true identity from the presence newbies gave off. You're a member of the Gilligan clan? Another imperial protector growled. When the other three imperial protector heard his words, their expressions all changed. Newbies glanced at the four imperial protectors indifferently and said proudly, Don't associate me, the great newbies, with the people of the Gilligan clan. The great newbies have nothing to do with them. Seniors, please don't misunderstand. Newbies may be a magical beast, but he's not a member of the Gilligan clan. Moreover, he's already my friend, so he's not an outsider. Jinshin explained. Although he was extremely dissatisfied with newbies' violent personality, the most important thing right now was to explain their relationship clearly to avoid any misunderstandings. If that's the case, then he's not an outsider. The four imperial protector from the Qin Empire all let out a sigh of relief. However, they were all extremely curious. They had no idea how Jinshin had befriended such a powerful magical beast, which made the four of them very envious. This was because magical beasts were naturally more powerful than humans of the same level. There were a few rare species that could even kill people who were stronger than them. Wang Yifeng immediately trembled when he heard that Nubes was a magical beast. His gaze toward Nubes was filled with deep fear and disbelief. Only now did he understand that the young man, who seemed even younger than him, was actually a Class 7 magical beast. He was equivalent to a saint ruler in the human world. At this moment, a series of footsteps rang out. Soldiers quickly surrounded the area from all directions. Over 20 heaven saint masters hovered in the sky. All the imperial protectors in the imperial palace of the Qin Empire had been mobilized. These people had clearly been disturbed by the presence of the imperial protector from the Qin Empire. The presence of the 4 imperial protector earlier had enveloped the entire area, alarming everyone in the imperial palace and causing them to be on high alert. "All of you back off. Do what you need to do," an imperial protector said. An imperial protector said. Although his voice was very calm, it still rang in the ears of every soldier. The soldiers in the surroundings immediately retreated like the tide. They had come quickly and dispersed quickly. However, over 20 heaven saint masters had all arrived. When they recognized the 4 imperial protectors, they were all shocked. The 4 imperial protectors of the Qin Empire had always cultivated in seclusion in the Qin Heavenly Hall. They had not taken a single step out of the hall for several decades. Now that all 4 of them had appeared outside, they could not help but feel surprised. "We greet the imperial protector." The 20 imperial protectors bowed in unison. They were extremely respectful. An imperial protector waved his hand and said in a calm voice, "You can all disperse." "Yes, sir," the 20 imperial protectors replied in unison. However, they curiously studied Jitatai and the others beside Jianshun before silently retreating. However, they were not as calm as they seemed on the surface. The 4 imperial protectors had actually stepped out of the Qin Heavenly Hall together with a few strangers beside Jianshun. This made them realize that the 4 imperial protectors definitely valued them. "Jianshun, we heard about your predicament in Mercenary City a few months ago. Although we really want to help you, our Qin Empire is facing pressure from other sources, so we are powerless to do anything. I hope you don't mind." An imperial protector smiled at Jianshun apologetically. Whether it was the matter of Jianshun's actions in Mercenary City or the 2 saint rulers by his side, it was enough for the 4 of them to treat him seriously. Jianshun chuckled. He casually chatted with the 4 imperial protectors before getting to the main topic. He said, "Seniors, something has probably happened at home, so I must return immediately. Let's meet again in the future." "All right, if that's the case, we won't waste your time, little brother Jianshun." Chapter 640. Since the imperial advisors of the Qin Empire had left a censor in the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom last time, Jianshun's group had directly returned to the original imperial palace through a space gate this time. Stepping out of the space gate, Jianshun instinctively scanned his surroundings. He discovered that the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom still looked the same as before. The only difference was that the imperial palace was no longer as cold and cheerless as before. There were figures everywhere as far as the eye could see, and fiery red flags fluttered everywhere in the imperial palace. The picture on the flags was a ball of fire burning fiercely. Jianshun was no stranger to this flag, because it was the symbol of the flame mercenaries. Suddenly, a flurry of footsteps rang out in the surroundings. Several hundred people quickly rushed over from all directions, surrounding Jianshun's group. All of them had sharp gazes as they stared at Jianshun's group with fiendish eyes. "Who are you? State your names." A middle-aged man, who seemed to be the leader, sternly demanded. "Jianshun," Jianshun replied indifferently. The middle-aged man was slightly stunned when he heard this. He was not unfamiliar with this name at all, and he was extremely familiar with it because it was the name of the captain of the Flame Mercenaries. The middle-aged man in the lead carefully examined Jianshun and finally recognized Jianshun's identity. His expression immediately changed, and he hurriedly bowed. He said respectfully, "So it's Sir Captain. This subordinate has eyes, but failed to recognize you. Please punish me, Sir Captain." With this, the several hundred members of the Flame Mercenaries also learned of Jinshin's identity. All of them immediately changed their expressions and bowed respectfully towards Jinshin, loudly calling out, "Greetings, Sir Captain." The voices of several hundred people were extremely loud, spreading very far through the silent Imperial Palace. Basically, the entire Imperial Palace knew. Immediately, the crowd in the Imperial Palace surged. Many people quickly walked out from various halls and gathered towards Jinshin's location. At this moment, there was a flash of azure light. A young man in white robes appeared before Jinshin in the blink of an eye. When he saw Jinshin, he immediately smiled happily and laughed aloud. "Jinshin, you've finally returned. If you took any longer, I would have gone out to look for you." The young man was Jinshin. "Jinshin, you've finally returned. Brother, you've finally returned." Just as Ming Dong finished speaking, two more female voices sounded from afar. Yu Yu, Huang Wan, and Bai Lian were accompanied by a large group of people as they ran over from afar. Their expressions were filled with joy. Afterward, all the upper echelon of the Flame Mercenaries gathered. In the blink of an eye, the large space was filled with people. Jinshin exchanged some pleasantries with everyone before being escorted into a majestic hall. This hall used to be the discussion hall of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. It was where the ruler and his ministers discussed matters of the kingdom. However, it had been taken over by the Flame Mercenaries now. Even the name of the hall had been changed to the Flame Hall. Jinshin sat on the throne boldly in the hall, while newbies Jita Tai, Wang Yifeng, and Little Fatty stood beside Jinshin quietly. They did not say anything. Little Fatty looked around curiously. He had only set foot on the Tian Yuan continent recently, so everything in the outside world was so new to him. Below him was a dense crowd of people. The few seats below him were occupied by the Heaven Saint Masters of the Flame Mercenaries and Ming Dong's group. Jinshin glanced around. He first said some pleasantries before introducing Jita Tai and the others. However, Jinshin only gave a rough introduction of their identities and did not go into detail about their strength. After the introduction, Jinshin cut to the chase. He directly brought up the main topic. He took out a shattered piece of the Sun Mother Twin Rock from his space ring and asked, "May I ask what's happened recently to force you to shatter the Sun Mother Twin Rock?" "It's about the tungsten alloy mine." Jinshin, the news of the tungsten alloy mine was leaked half a month ago. Right now, the news of us possessing a large tungsten alloy mine has spread like wildfire in the outside world. Basically, everyone knows about it, Yu Yu replied. Jinshin smiled faintly when he heard that. He said, "The truth can't be hidden forever. I expected the news of the tungsten alloy mine to spread long ago, but I never thought that it would happen so much earlier than I expected. I wonder what the other organizations have done after learning that we possess a large tungsten alloy mine. Ever since we joined forces with the 7 organizations, our strength has skyrocketed. Coupled with the fact that we have the support of the Qin Empire, the other organizations and smaller kingdoms haven't done anything even though they're envious. It's been rather peaceful. However, the only problem is the Dragon and Tiger sect," said Bai Lian. The person who spoke was Bai Lian. Since Bai Lian and Yu Yu both possessed great management abilities, Jinshin had left the Flame Mercenaries to the two of them to manage before he left. Although there were quite a few experts in the Flame Mercenaries, including quite a few Heaven Saint Masters, strength was not everything when it came to management. This was because this was a domain that did not require talent for cultivation. Instead, it required a clever and flexible mind. A powerful killing intent immediately flashed through Jinshin's eyes when he heard about the Dragon and Tiger sect. He could still remember the palm strike from the Saint Ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect. He had never forgotten about it. Does the Dragon and Tiger sect want to steal the tungsten alloy mine from us? Jinshin's voice sank slightly as a cold light flickered through his eyes. If it were before, the Dragon and Tiger sect would have definitely pressured him greatly, but now, the Saint Ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect was no longer a threat in Jinshin's eyes. Sima Yu Yu nodded. That's right. The Dragon and Tiger sect does want a share of the loot. However, they have a huge appetite. The moment they open their mouth, they want to take 2/3 of the mine. Naturally, we would not agree and directly rejected this overboard proposal. Furthermore, they might be afraid of the Qin Wang kingdom behind us. That's why, after we rejected them for a short while, the Dragon and Tiger sect did not immediately take action to snatch the loot. Brother, the Dragon Tiger sect is only doing this to test the Qin Wang kingdom's attitude towards this matter. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be so kind. I've already learned the details of the Dragon Tiger sect's strength from everyone, and I've also compared it to our current strength. The conclusion I've come to is that we don't have the ability to contend against the Dragon Tiger sect. I'm certain that if the Qin Wang kingdom doesn't interfere, the Dragon Tiger sect will definitely snatch the tungsten alloy mine from us, said Balian. Yeah, Jinshun, Balian is right. If we want to keep the tungsten alloy mine, we can only ask the Qin Empire for help. But you're the only one who has connections with the Qin Empire. Time is very tight right now. So we had no choice but to crush the mother-child twin stones and tell you to come back, Yu said rather sternly. The Dragon and Tiger sect interference had given her a huge headache. How many days have passed since the Dragon and Tiger sect gave us 7 days? Jianshun asked with a heavy voice. It's already been 6 days. Tomorrow will be the last day. This time, it was Ming Dong who spoke. He was stern. Jianshan sneered. If that's the case, let's quietly wait for the Dragon and Tiger sect's arrival. However, there's no need for anyone to worry about this matter. I have my ways to deal with the Dragon and Tiger sect. They're nothing to worry about. Everyone let out a sigh of relief when they heard what Jianshan had said. They did not doubt the authenticity of Jianshan's words at all, because they had all learned about Jianshan's other identity in the past few days. He was the imperial protector of the Qin Empire, one of the 8 great empires of the continent. His status was supreme, so how could he speak without thinking? With the Dragon and Tiger sect's worries resolved, everyone dispersed under Jianshan's signal. The spacious hall became empty very soon. Only a few people remained. Jianshan stood up from his throne and glanced past Yu and Bai Lian. Compared to a few months ago, Yu and Bai Lian had clearly become thinner. They had spent quite a lot of effort dealing with the internal matters of the mercenary group. Jianshan looked at the two of them rather apologetically. He smiled. Yu Lian, it's really been hard on the two of you. Perhaps I shouldn't have left such tiring matters to the two of you. Look at how much thinner you've become compared to a few months ago. Bai Lian smiled sweetly when she heard that. She said, Brother, it's fine. The Flame Mercenaries have only just been formed and is still in the process of development, so there are a lot of things to deal with. However, it'll be much easier once the Flame Mercenaries have stabilized. Once you find people who are adept at management and trustworthy, you can properly nurture them. Try to spread the matters out and let them deal with them. That way, it'll lessen your pressure, Jianshan suggested. Brother, we've thought of this a long time ago, but there really are quite a few people who are adept at management in our mercenaries. The most outstanding one is Zhang Tian, said Balian. Zhang Tian. Jianshan was slightly surprised. He had not forgotten about this person. He was the captain of the Carnage Mercenaries. After a moment of thought, Jianshan said, If Zhang Tian is reliable, let him take on the heavy responsibility. Got it, brother. Afterwards, Jianshan pulled out a fist-sized fruit from his space ring. He looked at Bai Lian with a gentle gaze and smiled. Lian, this is an earth core fruit. It's a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource. I specially bought it from an auction in Mercenary City. It can change your constitution. Once you consume it, you'll immediately possess an excellent body for cultivation. From then on, you won't encounter any obstructions on your path of cultivation. Brother, you must have wasted a lot of money. Bai Lian was deeply moved. She stared at the earth core fruit with mixed feelings as tears flickered in her eyes. Jianshan smiled without minding at all. What's money? As long as it can change Lian Er's constitution, it's worth it no matter how much money I spend. Newbie stared at the earth core fruit in Jianshan's hand with desire as he stood beside Jianshan. He said, Using a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource to change the constitution of an ordinary person is just a waste. This is a treasure that can extend the lifespan of a saint ruler. It's extremely rare. Jianshan, how about we make a deal? If you give the earth core fruit to me, the great newbies, will follow you for 3 more years. Although the earth core fruit was precious in the human world, it was not extinct. At the very least, Mercenary City would auction off one every year. However, as a magical beast, newbies could not enter Mercenary City, so it was extremely difficult for him to obtain a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource. He could not obtain it from the human world. Although there were 10,000-year-old heavenly resources in the depths of the Cross Mountains, they were all controlled by the Gilligan clan, so he could not obtain them. As a result, it was difficult for newbies to obtain a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource, even though he was a Class 7 magical beast. Jinshan shook his head without any hesitation. I've specially prepared this earth core fruit for Lianer. If you need it, I'll buy one for you in Mercenary City in the future. All right, it's a deal then. Newbies agreed with great excitement. 10,000-year-old heavenly resources could extend the lifespan of magical beasts as well. 10,000-year-old heavenly resources are not something a normal person can endure. Jianshun, if you want to use it to change your sister's constitution, you should hire an alchemist. An alchemist can make the energy within the heavenly resource docile by adding in other medicinal ingredients. Only then can your sister endure it, Jitatai suddenly said. Chapter 641. In the Qin Empire, which was extremely far away from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, an extremely thin human figure hovered high up in the sky. The white sea of clouds completely concealed his figure, so even the 4 imperial protector in the Qin Heavenly Palace failed to sense his existence. The human figure stared coldly at the space gate in the Qin Empire's palace. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. That damned bastard actually escaped through a space gate. This is troublesome. I didn't leave any imprints on them, so I have no way of knowing where they went. Looks like I'll have to put in a lot of effort to find them again. Sigh, what a pity. The human figure's face was filled with unwillingness. After a moment of hesitation, he suddenly thought of something and murmured softly, since Jianshan is the imperial protector of the Qin Empire, I should be able to find out some details about him from the Qin Empire. As long as I know where he went through the space gate, everything will be much easier. With that, the human figure hidden in the sea of clouds vanished without a trace. The territory of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had now completely become the territory of the Flame Mercenaries. The news of the tungsten alloy mine hidden within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had long since spread, causing countless small kingdoms and powers in the surroundings to be extremely tempted. However, none of them dared to take action, except for the enormous dragon and tiger sect. The pressure from the dragon and tiger sect also vanished without a trace with Jianshan's return. Although Jianshan did not fear the dragon and tiger sect, he did not take the initiative to make trouble for them. Instead, he quietly waited for the dragon and tiger sect to arrive in 2 days. This was because he wanted the dragon and tiger sect to come with great fanfare and return dejectedly. The next morning, Jianshan casually sat on the throne in the discussion hall of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's palace. Below him, an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion stood there respectfully. He bowed and said, "Subordinate He Yin greets the captain." Jianshan stared at the old man with a smile and said, "Master He Yin, I've heard that you're the most famous alchemist in the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. I wonder what kind of pills you can refine." "Captain, I do have some accomplishments in alchemy. As long as there are enough ingredients, I can refine most high-level pills," He Yin said respectfully. He knew very well what kind of person this young man before him was. He was the highest leader of the Flame Mercenaries, and even the leaders of the 7 great powers of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had to listen to him. "Right now, I have a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure. Master He Yin, I wonder if you can refine it into pills." Jinshan's tone was amiable. He spoke to He Yin as if he was negotiating with him. He did not put on any airs at all. He Yin was surprised at first when he heard that it was a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure. However, he soon became troubled. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Captain, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Although I do have some talent in alchemy, a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure is just too precious. I'm afraid I don't have the ability to refine such a treasure." "Jianshan, you don't actually have to refine a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure into pills. The energy within a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure is just too dense. It's not something your sister can handle. The main reason for hiring an alchemist is to add some things to neutralize the energy, making it docile. Only then can your sister absorb it, Jitatai explained from behind Jianshin. Jianshin nodded slightly and said to Hiyun, Master Hiyun, may I ask if you have the ability to do so? Hiyun let out a sigh of relief and clasped his hands. Captain, if it's just neutralizing the energy within a heavenly treasure, I'm still capable of doing so. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble Master Hiyun. You can stay in the Imperial Palace for now. Just tell me if you need any materials. I'll get people to gather them as quickly as possible, Jianshan said. Yes, Captain. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. Today just happened to be the last day of the 7 days the Dragon and Tiger sect had given them. The Heaven Saint Masters of the Flame mercenaries hovered above the gorge where the tungsten alloy mine was located, waiting for the arrival of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Several dozen Earth Saint Masters gathered in the surroundings of the gorge as well. Since the opponents this time were all experts of the Dragon and Tiger sect, Jianshan had only sent out the peak experts of the Flame mercenaries. Those below the Earth Saint Master level would not be of much use, even if they came. Instead, they would only increase the number of casualties. As a result, the Flame mercenaries had sent out less than 100 people this time. A long table had been placed on a piece of flat ground near the gorge. Jianshan, Mingdong, Dugafeng, Taita, Huangwan, Yu, Balian, Jitatai, Nubis, Wang Yifeng, and Little Fatty sat there and chatted as they ate fruit. They did not take the Dragon and Tiger sect seriously at all. Little Fatty, who had just stepped onto the Tian Yuan continent for the first time, was very curious about everything in the outside world. He constantly asked everyone about various things and would say a few extremely innocent things from time to time, making everyone laugh. Wang Yifeng did not want to fall behind either. He constantly told everyone about his experiences on the Tian Yuan continent, as he was good at communication, so he got along well with everyone very soon. He had completely assimilated into the group. Jianshin would chime in from time to time as well. Only newbies and Jitatai sat there with their eyes closed due to their status. They did not say anything at all. An hour later, newbies and Jitatai opened their eyes at the same time. They stared into the distance in interest. Soon afterward, Jianshin also noticed something strange. He stopped chatting with everyone and stared into the distance with a sharp gaze. He softly said, "The people from the Dragon and Tiger sect have come. Newbies, Jitatai, hide your presence as well. Don't let them discover you." "It's the great newbies." Newbies grumbled unhappily. He cared a lot about the first two words. Very soon, over a dozen Heaven Saint Masters flew over from afar. They stopped in the air above the gorge and faced the Heaven Saint Masters from the Flame mercenaries 100 meters away. They were the experts of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Jianshan sat below and stared at the group of people from the Dragon and Tiger sect. A cold light flashed through his eyes. There were quite a few familiar faces in this group. The three leaders were the three experts who had fought with him at the entrance of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Everyone from the Flame mercenaries, 7 days have passed. Have you made your decision? The sect master of the Dragon and Tiger sect, Chris, smiled faintly. Sect master Chris, may I ask what you want us to consider? Why don't you say it again? Below them, Jianshin sat at the table calmly and ate the fruit on the table as he spoke. Chris' gaze immediately landed on Jianshin. He clasped his hands at Jianshin and smiled. So, it's the captain of the Flame mercenaries, the Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire, and the current sect master of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Greetings. Chris paused for a moment before he continued. Lord Imperial Protector, our Dragon Tiger sect, is here for the tungsten alloy mine. Regarding the tungsten alloy mine, our Dragon Tiger sect wants 2/3 of the resources. The remaining 1/3 will belong to you. Jianshin stood up from his chair. His gaze was as sharp as a sword as he stared at Sect Master Chris. He sneered, "Your Dragon and Tiger sect sure talks big. You actually want us to hand over 2/3 of the mine to you. Do you think that's possible?" Chris was not angered. He chuckled. Imperial Protector, the territory of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom has always been under the control of the Dragon and Tiger sect. The tungsten alloy mine has also appeared in the territory of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Logically speaking, the tungsten alloy mine should completely belong to the Dragon and Tiger sect. However, the Dragon and Tiger sect only wants 2/3 out of respect for the Qin Empire, leaving 1/3 for you. We're already being extremely benevolent. What a grand excuse. People of the Dragon and Tiger sect, listen up. Right now, the territory of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is completely under the control of the Flame Mercenaries. The tungsten alloy mine is also completely under the control of the Flame Mercenaries. Right now, I'll give you 15 minutes to leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude, Jinshin coldly said. He could not be bothered to waste his breath arguing with them. What big words. Jinshin, old man, I'd like to see how you'll be rude to us. As soon as Jinshan finished speaking, an old voice boomed through the sky. A tall old man slowly appeared above the group of people from the Dragon and Tiger sect. He was the saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Jinshan coldly stared at the old man and sneered. Saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect, you finally appeared. I thought you were going to hide for a long time. The saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect emotionlessly stared at Jinshin and said, Jinshin, although your talent is pretty good, you're still a heaven saint master after all. If it weren't for the Qin Empire behind you, you wouldn't even be an ant in old man's eyes. Last time, old man only spared your life out of respect for the Qin Empire. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to live until today. Yet now, you actually dare to speak such arrogant words to the people of the Dragon and Tiger sect. Do you really think the Qin Empire can protect you for the rest of your life? Do you believe that old man won't let you die a horrible death right now? Is your Dragon and Tiger sect not afraid of the Qin Empire? Jinshin probed. The saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect sneered. The Qin Empire can't even take care of itself right now. How can they have the energy to interfere in this matter? Jinshin, if you want to use the power of the Qin Empire to protect yourself, I'd advise you to give up. Obediently hand over 2/3 of the tungsten alloy mine, and the old man won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, you know what the consequences will be. Unless he had no other choice, the saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect did not dare to kill Jinshin in front of so many people. Although Jinshin was only a heaven saint master in his eyes, as weak as an ant, his other identity was the imperial protector of the Qin Empire. This caused him to feel some fear. Chapter 642. The saint ruler sneered. The Qin Empire can't even take care of itself right now. How can they have the energy to interfere in this matter? Jinshin, if you want to use the Qin Empire's influence to protect yourself, I advise you to give up. Obediently hand over 2/3 of the tungsten alloy mine, and old man won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, you know what the consequences will be. Unless he had no other choice, the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect would not dare to kill Jinshin in front of so many people. Although Jinshin was only a heaven saint master in his eyes, as weak as an ant, his other identity was the imperial protector of the Qin Empire. This made him feel some fear. Jinshin's heart skipped a beat. Previously, he had been guessing that the Qinhuang kingdom was in trouble, and the words of the saint ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect confirmed his guess. However, he had no idea what kind of trouble the Qinhuang kingdom was in. It seems that I should go to the Qin Empire to understand the situation when I have the time. Jinshin thought to himself. The Qin Empire had given him quite a bit of help before, so he could not just stand by and do nothing now that the Qin Empire was in trouble. However, right now was not the time to think about this. Jinshin quickly collected his thoughts and glared at the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Killing intent flickered in his eyes as he sneered. Saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger, you no longer have the right to speak to me like that. As he spoke, a layer of dense wind element enveloped Jinshin and slowly lifted him into the air. He faced off against the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect in the air. At the same time, a powerful battle intent radiated from Jinshin, filling the entire area. It was as if the surrounding air had frozen. A cold light flickered in the saint ruler's eyes as he looked at Jinshin with disdain. From what he knew, Jinshin was only a heaven saint master. Someone like that was as weak as an ant in his eyes, unable to withstand a single blow. Jinshin, do you really want to force the old man to act? The saint ruler growled. His voice was cold, almost reaching the limit of his patience. At this moment, the battle between Jinshin and the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was about to erupt. Observing the situation above, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Flame, Mercenaries, and Ming Dong's group became rather stern. They were extremely worried for Jinshin. After all, he was facing a saint ruler who was on a completely different level from a Heaven Saint Master. Why hasn't the Qinhuang Kingdom's Imperial Protector arrived yet? Could it be that it's really like what the Dragon and Tiger sects people said, that they don't have the spare energy to interfere in these matters? If they don't come, I'll be in danger, Bai Lian said worriedly. They had always believed that Jinshin was fearless because he had already contacted the Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire. However, the battle between Jinshin and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was about to erupt, yet the expected Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire still had not appeared. This made them all feel extremely uneasy and nervous. Jinshin is far too rash. How can he provoke the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect so rashly before the Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire comes? We don't have any power here that can fend off a Saint Ruler. Dugu Feng frowned as well. Newbies could not help but smile when he heard the worried words of the two. I'll have to disappoint you. It's impossible for the Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire to come. What? The Imperial Protector of the Qin Empire won't come? Then how are we supposed to stop the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect? Ming Dong's expression drastically changed. Newbies glanced at Jinshin in the sky and said, hasn't someone already gone up? Just leave the Saint Ruler to him. Are you kidding me? Jinshin is still a Heaven Saint Master. How can he be the opponent of Saint Ruler? Ming Dong sternly replied, I might as well inform our ancestor. Our ancestor should be able to deal with the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, Huang Yuan said rather urgently. Boom! Just as everyone below was discussing how to deal with the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, a heavy sound suddenly rang out, causing the entire space to violently tremble. Jinshin and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect had already begun fighting in the air. Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, I still remember the palm strike you gave me back then. Today, I will return it to you with interest. Jinshin yelled out. Chaotic force had already filled his entire body, pushing its power to the limit. The Saint Ruler would not be able to injure him with his powerful defense. The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect stared at Jinshin in a daze. He cried out in disbelief. How is this possible? Have you already broken through the Heaven Saint Master level and reached Saint Ruler level? The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect had finally witnessed Jinshin's current strength from the clash earlier. This was not the strength of a Heaven Saint Master. Chapter 643. Seeing Jinshin's powerful punch, the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect's face immediately turned solemn. This punch was no weaker than a Saint Ruler's attack. How is this possible? It's only been a while, and Jinshin has already broken through from Heaven Saint Master to Saint Ruler. No matter how great his talent is, it's impossible for him to break through to Saint Ruler at such a young age. Just how did he cultivate the heart of the Saint Ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger churned? He could not remain calm at all. Jinshin had suddenly become a Saint Ruler, which was a great shock to him. No, if he's a Saint Ruler, why is he using the Yuan Qi of the world to fly? The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect quickly realized that something was wrong. However, he did not have time to think about it, as Jinshin's punch was already about to reach his chest. The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect knew that this punch was not weak and did not dare to be careless. Boundless Saint force surged out of his body and condensed in his right hand. The powerful energy gathered in one place, and just the shock waves of the energy caused the surrounding space to ripple. This was a testament to the power of the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. His strength was actually much stronger than the ancestor of the Jetta family, Jetta Tai. Pong! With a thunderous sound, the fist and palm collided in the air. The power of the collision was like a volcanic eruption, spewing out flames and magma into the sky. An incomparably powerful shockwave of energy formed a hurricane that carried with it a destructive force that wreaked havoc in all directions. The entire space was greatly affected and shook violently. At the center of the shockwave of energy, small cracks could be seen appearing and healing. Jinshin and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect were completely engulfed by the shockwave of energy. It was impossible to see them from the outside. The valley below their feet had also collapsed due to the powerful shockwave of energy. Large pieces of rock rolled down and rumbled as they rolled into the valley floor, kicking up a cloud of dust. Jiddatai had already left his seat at some point. His old figure stood straight in front of everyone like a javelin. He opened his hands slightly and a transparent barrier spread out, enveloping Ming Dong's group and preventing them from being affected by the shockwaves. Before the battle had begun, Jinshin had warned Jiddatai to protect Ming Dong's group at all costs. As a result, Jiddatai had let go of his dignity as a Saint Ruler and personally protected these people who were only Earth Saint Masters. Some of them were not even Earth Saint Masters. The ground below Ming Dong's group had already become empty. The flat ground had also collapsed due to the shockwaves. All of them, including the table, had remained unscathed because of the barrier. Otherwise, all of them who were not even Heaven Saint Masters would have already fallen from the collapse of the ground. In the distance, whether it was the Heaven Saint Masters from the Flame Mercenaries or the expert from the Dragon Tiger sect, they all swayed from side to side from the shockwave of energy. A few of them had even almost lost control and fell from the sky. They immediately retreated far away in fear. The shockwave of energy was so powerful that it had completely surpassed the clash of Heaven-tier battle skills. As Heaven Saint Masters, it was extremely difficult for them to block it. Jiddatai used his hands to create a barrier to protect Ming Dong's group from the battlefield. In the end, they landed on a mountain peak 10 kilometers away. As for Ming Dong and Dugu Feng, their gazes landed on Jiddatai's barrier, their faces filled with shock. A barrier. It's actually a barrier. Why? Why? You're actually a Saint Ruler. Ming Dong's eyes widened, and he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Dugu Feng, who was standing beside him, didn't cry out like he did, but the way he looked at Jiddatai had changed drastically. There was more respect and fear in his eyes. Jiddatai glanced at Ming Dong and did not say anything. He then turned his head and focused on the battle in front of him. Seeing Ming Dong's shocked expression, Newbies curled his lips in disdain. He said, "Isn't he just a Saint Ruler? What's there to be surprised about?" However, Ming Dong did not hear the disdain in Newbie's words. All of his attention was focused on Jiddatai. He knew that Jiddatai was a supreme existence who could contend with a Saint Ruler from the Dragon Tiger sect. "Senior, please go save Jinshin." The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect has been in this realm for many years. Jinshin is not his opponent at all. Only you can deal with him now. Ming Dong's voice was filled with anxiety. In his mind, Jinshin was only a Heaven Saint Master. He was like an ant before a Saint Ruler. Ming Dong did not believe that Jinshin had become a Saint Ruler in just a few months. His concern had caused him to lose focus. Now that Jinshin had begun fighting with the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, the violent ripples of energy obscured the view in the sky. Ming Dong could not see what was going on inside, so he obviously believed that Jinshin was in an extremely dangerous situation. "Senior, I beg you, please save my brother." Balian was already in tears. Her heart was in her throat. Although she knew that her brother was very powerful, she also knew just how terrifying a Saint Ruler was. They were not existences that Heaven Saint Masters could contend against. "Senior," with Jiddatai's strength exposed, everyone began to beg as if they were grasping at straws. Their excessive worry for Jinshin had caused them to lose their quick thinking. They did not believe that Jinshin had the ability to contend against a Saint Ruler, and the terrifying ripples of energy from before had scared them silly. They all believed that it was caused by the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, and that Jinshin was probably done for. Jiddatai originally did not want to pay attention to the people around Jinshin when he saw how worried they were. However, when he thought about their relationship with Jinshin, he could only explain, "You don't need to worry." Although the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect is at the fourth heavenly layer, Jianshun can still deal with him with his own strength. He'll be fine. Ming Dong and the others were stunned by what Jitatai had said. Jianshun could actually deal with a fourth heavenly layer saint ruler with his own strength. They could not believe their ears. Boom! However, before they could think any further, another violent explosion came from the front. The surging ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, causing the sky to change color. The power was truly destructive. The mountains in a radius of dozens of miles shook violently as the ground cracked. In front of them, the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect rapidly retreated. His expression had become extremely solemn. His right arm trembled slightly and hung limply. He had clashed head-on with Jianshun twice, and the chaotic force hidden in Jianshun's fist had caused great damage to his arm. If he had not reached the fourth heavenly layer, he would have been much stronger than Jitatai. The bones in his right arm would have been broken long ago. Saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, where did your arrogance go? Didn't you say you would kill me? How come you haven't even injured me? Don't tell me you can't even deal with a junior like me? Jianshun yelled at the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. However, he did not stop there. He used the illusory flash and appeared before the saint ruler at an unbelievable speed. He threw another punch at the saint ruler with shocking power. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect paled. Jianshun's words made him feel extremely humiliated. He could not find a way out of this embarrassing situation. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect's eyes flashed with intense killing intent. Saint force surged into his right arm, and his trembling right arm immediately returned to normal. Then, a fiery red curved blade appeared in his hand. He slashed at Jianshun's fist with lightning speed. Wherever the curved blade passed, small cracks appeared in space. In just 2 short exchanges, the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was forced to use his saint weapon, which he had not used for a long time, by Jianshun. Jianshun was not afraid at all. He directly used his fist to block the saint ruler's saint weapon. When the fist and the saint weapon collided, the saint weapon was directly repelled by Jianshun's punch. A deep wound appeared on Jianshun's fist, and fresh blood spurted out like a fountain. However, in the blink of an eye, the blood suddenly stopped flowing. The wound that appeared on Jianshun's fist actually healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths of time, the wound was completely healed. Not even a trace of it was left behind. How is this possible? Witnessing this unbelievable scene with his own eyes, the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was stunned. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was completely stunned. His eyes were wide open, and he was extremely shocked. He had used his saint weapon to attack, but it had only left an insignificant wound on Jianshun's fist. Moreover, the wound had automatically healed. Anyone would be incomparably shocked by this unbelievable scene. Impossible. This is impossible. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect did not dare to accept this terrifying scene. Then his figure flashed, and he instantly appeared in front of Jianshun with the help of spatial force. Once again, he slashed at Jianshun with an even greater force. This slash was supported by spatial force. The speed of the slash was so fast that it was tongue-tied. Moreover, it was impossible to dodge. Jianshun did not have time to react. After all, this was a domain that involved the mysteries of heaven and earth. The slash followed a mysterious trajectory as it slashed across Jianshun's waist, causing blood to spurt out. The power of this slash was even greater. Although it did not cut Jianshun in half, as the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect had expected, it still inflicted heavy injuries on Jianshun. Moreover, a sharp blade Qi drilled into Jianshun's body, attempting to destroy Jianshun's internal organs from the inside. However, before it could do anything, it was assimilated by the chaotic force that spread throughout Jianshun's body. Jitatai, newbies, let's do it together. Jianshun yelled. He planned on the 3 of them working together to deal with the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. This was because he knew that the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was stronger than Jitatai. He could not even injure Jitatai, let alone the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. All of this was because he was not in the same domain as the saint ruler. The mysteries of heaven and earth could not be ignored. Although his comprehension of the illusory flash had improved, it was still far from enough to deal with the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. In the distance, Jittai and newbies rushed over at the same time. They worked together with Jianshun to deal with the saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect. You actually have two more saint rulers. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect's face changed drastically. Although he was a fourth heavenly layer saint ruler, dealing with two true saint rulers and a heaven saint master with the battle prowess of a saint ruler was extremely stressful for him. As soon as the two sides clashed, he was completely suppressed and could only fight back passively. The battle between the four peerless experts in the sky was extremely intense. It was so intense that the heavens and earth cracked and the sun and moon dimmed. They fought from a few hundred meters up to 10,000 meters in the sky. The huge commotion spread over 1,000 kilometers, and many experts sensed it. The saint ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was ultimately unable to fight against four. After fighting with Jianxin and the other two for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he was already heavily injured. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his face was extremely pale. He was no longer as courageous as before. Today, I will kill a saint ruler. You will remain here forever. Jianshan yelled as he punched the saint ruler's back with chaotic force. The saint ruler immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Jinshan's punch was even stronger than the attack of a regular saint ruler. It was not easy to endure. Chapter 644. Ha ha, saint slaying? That's right. Today, we'll slay a saint ruler. Newbies laughed loudly as he pierced the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler's chest, tearing off a large piece of flesh. The Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler groaned in pain. Slaying a saint? You don't have the ability to do that. The Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler roared with a ferocious expression. His figure flashed and disappeared from the sight of Jianshun and the others. He had already used the power of space to escape the encirclement of the three and appeared 100 meters away. He was now in a sorry state. His hair was disheveled and his face was pale. His white robes had been stained red by the saint ruler's blood. He had long lost his previous elegance. Jianshun used the illusory flash and charged at the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler 100 meters away. He did not give the saint ruler any time to catch his breath. Behind him, newbies and Jittai also surrounded the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler. The Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler glared venomously at Jianshun. He gritted his teeth and said, Jianshun, old man will remember what happened today. There will be plenty of time in the future. Old man will come looking for you very soon. After saying that, the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler ignored the experts from the other sections. His figure flashed, and he turned into a streak of light, escaping into the distance at an unbelievable speed. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler disappear without a trace, Jianshan sighed regretfully and said, he actually escaped. What a pity. Today should have been the best chance to kill him. The golden-robed newbies stood beside Jianshan and gazed in the direction the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler had disappeared. He said, how can a saint ruler be killed so easily? Unless you can suppress him with absolute strength. No one can stop him if he wants to escape. At the same time, he's already at the fourth heavenly layer, one heavenly layer higher than the two of us. His comprehension of the mysteries of space is deeper than ours. We can't catch up to him even if we want to. Jianshan stared deeply at newbies. As a golden-striped silver snake of ancient times, newbies' battle prowess was not something that could be defeated by others of the same level. He could even challenge opponents of higher levels. As a golden-striped silver snake, he was most famous for his venom, which was one of the top 3 venomous creatures on the Tianyuan continent. Although newbies had heavily injured the Dragon Tiger sect's saint ruler, he had not used his venom at all. Even the strength he had displayed was very ordinary, almost on par with Jittai. Clearly, he had not used his full strength. Jianshan was extremely dissatisfied with this, but he did not say anything about it. Saint rulers are indeed difficult to kill. If they want to flee, it'll be very difficult to hunt them down. They can travel 1,000 kilometers in a single instance. If you don't leave behind an imprint on them, they'll vanish from your senses in the blink of an eye. You won't be able to find them. However, they'll have to pay a certain price for that, Jitatai added as well. He agreed with newbies. Jianshan frowned slightly and said, "Then how can I kill him?" The two of them fell silent for a while before Jitatai finally spoke. "If you want to kill a saint ruler of the fourth heavenly layer, unless you have mastered a legendary saint tier battle skill, I'm afraid only a saint ruler of the seventh heavenly layer and above can kill him. This is because a saint ruler of the fourth heavenly layer will find it very difficult to escape from a saint ruler of the seventh heavenly layer. They might not even have the ability to escape. Looks like it won't be easy to kill the saint ruler of the dragon and tiger sect." Jianshun softly murmured. According to his original plan, he wanted to kill the saint ruler of the dragon tiger sect on the spot. Unfortunately, he did not manage to do so in the end. In the distance, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Dragon Tiger sect all paled in fright when they saw that their old sect master had been defeated. They did not dare to stay any longer and hurriedly turned around to flee. Jianshun sensed their movements and a cold light flashed through his eyes. He growled, "Since you've come, I can't let you go so easily." Jianshun directly struck out with his palm, and a vast amount of energy surged toward the Heaven Saint Masters of the Dragon Tiger sect. The energy compressed the space around them and froze them. The Heaven Saint Masters of the Dragon Tiger sect were forcefully frozen in the air. Boom! The shockwave of energy directly struck them and sent them flying. Over a dozen of them died on the spot and fell from the sky powerlessly. In the end, only the sixth cycle of Heaven Saint Master, the fifth cycle of Heaven Saint Master, and an old man managed to survive. However, they were heavily injured and could no longer remain airborne. "Let's go." The sect master of the Dragon Tiger sect, Chris, let out a hoarse roar. He used all his strength to control the energy of the world to stabilize himself before fleeing with the other two experts who managed to survive. Jianshun did not kill the three of them. With his current level of experience, he could not be bothered to deal with a second Heaven Saint Master. "Let's go back." Jianshun called out and brought Jitatai and newbies back to Ming Dong's group. "Jianshun, it's only been a few months since we last met. Have you already broken through the Heaven Saint Master realm and entered the Saint Ruler realm? Brother, you're injured. Is it serious?" Jianshun's group immediately surrounded him and began to talk. All of their faces were filled with unconcealable excitement. They felt joy from the bottom of their hearts when they learned that Jianshun had broken through. In the distance, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Flame mercenaries all gathered around as well. They all stared at Jianshun, who was much younger than them, with mixed feelings. The battle between Jianshun and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect had deeply shocked them. It had only been a short while since they last met. Yet Jianshun had already broken through to the Saint Ruler realm. This was a goal that they all yearned for, yet it had actually been reached by Jianshun so easily. At that moment, the Heaven Saint Masters all looked at Jianshun with unconcealable envy, as well as some jealousy and respect. The difference between a Saint Ruler and a Heaven Saint Master was like a chasm. The current Jianshun was enough for the Heaven Saint Masters to respect him. However, what they did not know was that Jianshun was still a Heaven Saint Master. He had not truly become a Saint Ruler. The strength of Jianshun, Jitatai, and newbies had been completely exposed to the experts of the Flame Mercenaries after the battle. With the three Saint Rulers present, the upper echelon of the Flame Mercenaries became much more confident. The mental pressure they had felt from the news of the tungsten alloy mine had completely vanished. After personally witnessing Jianshun's group of three repel the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect, and seeing Jianshun kill over a dozen Heaven Saint Masters from the Dragon Tiger sect with a single palm strike, all of them realized that the Flame Mercenaries now possessed the ability to look down on the Tian Yuan continent. With the talent Jianshun had displayed, they dare not imagine just what level of strength he would reach if he was given some more time. After successfully repelling the Dragon Tiger sect, Jianshun's group did not stay any longer. They directly returned to the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The upper echelon of the flame mercenaries had all gathered in the discussion hall of the Imperial Palace to discuss important matters. Since the tungsten alloy mine has already been exposed, there's no need for us to be secretive like before. Let's just mine as much as we can. We need to obtain as much tungsten alloy as possible. I'm afraid that some unforeseen events will happen in the future, Jianshan sternly said as he sat at the head of the table. Although the flame mercenaries were no longer weaker than the Sher family, tungsten alloy was just too precious on the Tianyuan continent. Moreover, it was a large mine, so he really was worried that they would provoke an enemy even more powerful than the Dragon Tiger sect. We're already mining as much as we can, but the tungsten alloy ore is very tough. It's very difficult to mine it, so our progress has always been very slow. We've only mined a small portion of it right now, and we've even hired the best smiths to forge it. We'll do our best to create a batch of extremely tough armor for the members of the Flame Mercenaries as soon as possible, Yu said. Jianshan nodded in satisfaction. The tungsten alloy mine takes up a very large area. We can hire a few more people to mine it from different locations. This matter cannot be delayed. We need to deal with it immediately. Just as Jianshan's group gathered in the discussion hall to discuss the tungsten alloy mine and the subsequent matters, the great disturbance caused by the battle between the three of them and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect had caused an uproar. The energy of the world violently pulsed in a radius of 10,000 kilometers, allowing all the Heaven Saint Masters to clearly sense it. It shocked all of them. A battle between Saint Rulers was just far too rare on the Tianyuan continent. This was because experts like them basically all cultivated in seclusion. They rarely ventured out, let alone a great battle. The matter this time attracted the attention of all the experts in a radius of 10,000 kilometers. Many Heaven Saint Masters gathered at the location of the battle from all directions and used various methods to ask the members of the Flame Mercenaries for more details. They learned very quickly that the captain of the Flame Mercenaries was already a Saint Ruler, and that there were two other Saint Rulers personally overseeing the battle. This news greatly shocked everyone. They were deeply shocked by the strength of the Flame Mercenaries. Thousands of miles away, in a pitch-black cave, the Holy Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was sitting cross-legged in a pool of blood, recuperating from his injuries. After taking a few level 6 light divine pills, he had finally recovered by more than half. Chapter 645. The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect rested in the secret cave for 7 days. He only left after his wounds had completely healed. His figure turned into a blurry afterimage, as if he had become one with the space around him. He silently left with an unbelievable speed. Half a day later, the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect appeared 10,000 kilometers away. In the end, he entered the depths of a primitive mountain range. In the depths of this primitive mountain range, in an area where no one had set foot in, there was a villa that very few people knew about. It was dead silent in the villa, and not a single sound could be heard. Not a single person could be seen for a long time, but the ground was clean and spotless. The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect descended from the sky. He hovered 10 meters above the ground and said, "The Dragon Tiger sect has come to visit the Sai Villa." The Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect's voice was very gentle, but it seemed to be filled with endless magic. It reverberated in every corner of the villa. Not many people in the outside world knew about the Sai Villa because it was a reclusive sect. They cultivated in seclusion deep in the mountains all year round. They almost never stepped out. For thousands of years, they had never interfered with the matters of the outside world. Only when they were recruiting disciples would the people of the Sai Villa go out and look for suitable people with good talent to accept into the sect and continue the sect's legacy. Only a few large powers and sects on the Tianyuan continent knew about the existence of the Sai Villa, and the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect was one of them. "It's a pleasure to have a friend from afar. Sidu Qing, you haven't come to my place for nearly 100 years. Hurry up and come in. It's time for the two of us to catch up." The villa was still very calm, but a vigorous and powerful voice came from inside. The Saint King of the Dragon Tiger sect laughed loudly and flew into the air. Finally, he stopped in front of the majestic hall in the middle of the villa. A middle-aged man in a black robe was already waiting in front of the hall. "Senior, my master is already waiting inside. Please come in," the middle-aged man said to the Saint Ruler in a low voice. He was very respectful. The middle-aged man was only a heaven saint master, so he was nothing in the eyes of Saint Ruler. The Saint Ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger did not even glance at him as he walked in with his head held high. This was a very simple hall. The walls made of wooden planks had been there for an unknown number of years. They were simple and old, leaving behind traces of time. It looked like a poor farmhouse. In the middle of the hall, there was a very old round wooden table. An old man in sackcloth was sitting there, leisurely drinking tea. The fragrance of the tea permeated the entire hall. Just a whiff of it would make one feel relaxed and happy. One could tell at a glance that it was not an ordinary tea. The fragrance of the tea seemed to be the only precious thing here. The Saint King of the Dragon and Tiger sect walked in and sat down across from the old man. He looked at the old man who was slowly sipping his tea and said, "You really know how to enjoy life. I haven't seen you for so many years, and you're still the same. I've always been like this. I don't touch the dust, I don't touch the dirt. I live the life I want to live. I stay away from worldly affairs and only pursue the peak in my heart." The old man chuckled. The Saint Ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect stared at the old man for a short while before sighing, "I can't see through you at all. Your strength has far surpassed mine. Only by letting go of your body and mind can you surpass yourself and break through the barriers and shackles of the world. Situ Ching, 100 years have already passed, and your strength is still at the same level as before. In my opinion, you should just become a hermit in the Dragon and Tiger sect and ignore the matters of the outside world. Who cares about who lives and who dies, who wins and who loses? None of this has anything to do with you. What's the difference between your half-addicted state and entering the world?" The old man said calmly. After a moment of silence, the Saint Ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect said, "Let's talk about this in the future. Good Xiao, actually, I wouldn't have come here for no reason. I have come this time because I have a request." The old man slowly drank all the tea in his cup and gently placed the empty cup on the table. He said, "I know. I can already tell that you were injured recently. You must have caused trouble outside again." The Saint Ruler of the Dragon and Tiger sect nodded. His eyes suddenly became cold, and he said, "Good Xiao, I hope you can help me this time because my enemy is just too terrifying. I can't give him any more time, or I won't be able to escape death in the future." Sigh. The old man sighed deeply and said, "Situ Ching, your resentment is too heavy. It won't be good for you if this continues. If you can resolve this matter, then resolve it. There's no need to fight to the death." The Saint King of the Dragon Tiger sect, Situ Ching, shook his head and said, "Impossible. The enemy is a cruel and merciless person who seeks revenge for the smallest grievance. His hatred for me is deep and cannot be resolved. Only one of us can survive." Situ Ching paused. She gritted her teeth and said, "And with my status, I can't just lose face by asking a junior to resolve the matter, let alone whether he agrees or not. Situ Ching, you know me. Even though we have a deep friendship, I won't help you kill." The old man in linen robes sighed. "I know. Good Xiao, I don't want you to help me kill. There are a total of 3 Saint Rulers, and the strongest is only at the 3rd heavenly layer. You just need to stop 2 of them for me," Situ Ching said with some pleading in her voice. After a moment of hesitation, the old man said, "All right, Situ Ching, I'll help you this time because of our friendship. However, this is a private matter between the 2 of us. It has nothing to do with the Sign Manor, and I won't help you kill anyone." After agreeing on a time with the old man, Situ Ching left the Sign Manor and hurried off in another direction. After several hours of traveling, she finally arrived in an extremely well-hidden cave. Inside the cave, there was a burning torch. The dancing flames illuminated and dispelled the darkness inside. In front of the fire, there was an old man in green clothes sitting cross-legged on a huge rock with his eyes closed. He seemed to have entered a deep level of cultivation and did not notice that an outsider had intruded at all. Situ Ching did not suppress his footsteps. He walked into the cave step by step. Looking at the elders sitting cross-legged on the huge rock, he said, "Be high, 30 years have passed. How are your injuries?" "I recovered over 20 years ago." "Situ Ching, speak. Why have you come looking for me?" The azure-robed old man on the boulder said. His voice was extremely flat. "Bai Hai, I've come looking for you this time because I hope you can help me with something," said Situ Ching. "Over 30 years ago, you saved my life. At that time, I said that I, Bai Hai, owed you a favor and could help you do anything within my power unconditionally. This time, you want to use this favor to make me do things for you?" The azure-robed old man still had his eyes closed. He didn't even look at Situ Ching. Situ Ching hesitated. It was not easy to get the old man to owe her a favor. She wondered if it was worth it to use this favor to deal with Jinshin. Whatever. Jinshin's talent is just too terrifying. I need to get rid of him at all costs. I can't waste any more time. A sliver of viciousness flashed through Situ Ching's eyes when she thought up to there. She gritted her teeth. "All right. Bai Hai, I'll use the favor you owe me to deal with someone. What's the opponent's strength? When do you want to do it?" The old man asked indifferently. "He's just a junior. With your strength, it's easy to kill him. The sooner the better." "It's best if you go now," said Situ Ching. "If that's the case, let's go." The old man finally opened his eyes. His body quietly floated to the ground. "Bai Hai, after this matter, why don't you come to our Dragon Tiger sect?" Situ Ching looked at the old man with some hope. The green-robed elder shook his head and replied expressionlessly, "My enemy is very powerful. Even I am unable to deal with him, much less your sect of Dragon and Tiger. Aren't you afraid that this will bring a calamity upon your sect of Dragon and Tiger?" Situ Ching's expression changed slightly when she heard this. She immediately stopped talking. Although she really wanted to rope in such an expert, the latter's enemy made her extremely wary. She did not dare to take the risk. Jianshun, newbies, and Jitatai had remained in the Flame Mercenaries for the past few days. On one hand, it was to prevent the Saint Ruler of the Dragon Tiger sect from attacking again. On the other hand, it was to act as a great deterrent to the other large clans and organizations, preventing them from causing trouble for the Flame Mercenaries while they mined the tungsten alloy. Chapter 646. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Ever since the Saint Ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger had been defeated, the situation had become much calmer. However, one thing worth mentioning was that ever since the news of the 3 Saint Rulers had spread, many mercenaries of various sizes in the vicinity all begged to join the Flame Mercenaries of their own accord, willingly becoming a part of the mercenaries. Jinshin only accepted a portion of the elites to join the Flame Mercenaries after a series of strict discussions with everyone. He wanted to expand the strength of the group. The current Flame Mercenaries were no longer as easy to join as they had been in the past. Those who succeeded in joining the Flame Mercenaries were naturally overjoyed. To them, being able to join the Flame Mercenaries and become a part of the Flame Mercenaries was an extremely great honor, as well as a symbol of status. It made them feel extremely proud. The mercenaries who failed to join the Flame Mercenaries were obviously dejected, but they did not give up on joining the Flame Mercenaries. All of them made up their minds that they would work even harder on their cultivation so that they could reach the requirements to join the Flame Mercenaries as soon as possible. The Flame Mercenaries grew stronger almost every day. There were even quite a few Earth Saint Masters who were willing to join because of their fame. There were even 3 Heaven Saint Masters who had joined. For a moment, the strength of the Flame Mercenaries rapidly increased as well. All of this was because the 3 Saint Rulers had suddenly appeared in the Flame Mercenaries. Not only did experts like them provide a great deterrence, but they were also invincible. Even though they were not truly invincible, they were invincible in the eyes of the regular mercenaries at the very least. At noon, Jianshun arrived in a resplendent room. This was his temporary residence. It was the residence of the former king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and it was the most luxurious room in the imperial palace. Jianshun sat before a table in the room as he explained some matters and experiences regarding cultivation to Bai Lian. He pointed out a clear path for his sister so that she would not have to take any detours in the future. At this moment, a guard walked in from outside and respectfully reported to Jianshan. Reporting to Commander, Alchemist He Yun requests an audience. Jianshan's heart moved, and he said, "Let him in." "Yes, Captain." That guard lightly retreated and quickly brought Alchemist He Yun in. At this moment, He Yun's expression was haggard, completely different from the energetic appearance he had a few days ago. In order to complete the task Jianshan gave him as soon as possible, He Yun had worked tirelessly these past few days. Finally, he had succeeded in refining the 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure today. At this moment, he was completely exhausted. Reporting to Lord Commander, this crane was fortunate enough to not fail the mission. I have already successfully neutralized the medicinal power of the Earth Core fruit and refined 2 pills. He Yun bowed towards Jianshan. His voice was filled with respect before carefully handing a wooden box to Jianshan. Jianshan received the wooden box and directly opened it. He saw 2 white jade bottles lying quietly on the ground. Jianshan gently picked up one of the jade bottles and opened the cap. Immediately, a thick fragrance filled the room. Just a whiff of it would make one feel refreshed. Sensing the powerful yet gentle energy within the pill, Jianshan nodded in satisfaction. He said, "Master He Yun, it's really been hard on you these past 2 days. You've helped me so much, so Jianshan, will definitely not treat you unfairly. May I know what Master He Yun wants? Jianshan, will definitely do my best to satisfy you." He Yun hesitated for a while before bowing. "Sir Commander, I don't have any other requests. I just hope that my family can be protected here." Jianshan chuckled. How can such a small matter offset Master He Yun's contributions? "Master He Yun, my flame mercenaries has reached a certain scale now. The members of the group often fight outside, so injuries are unavoidable. I just happen to be thinking of establishing an alchemy hall that will specifically provide healing pills for my flame mercenaries. May I know if Master He Yun is interested in taking up the position of Hall Master? From now on, all the alchemy will be under Master He Yun's control." A sliver of joy flashed through He Yun's eyes when he heard that. He said, "Since you think so highly of me, I will definitely do my best and offer up my strength for the flame mercenaries until my death." He Yun understood just how powerful the flame mercenaries were now. Once he became the Hall Master of the Alchemy Hall, his status in the flame mercenaries would be quite high. That way, he would have more power to protect his family. To him, this was something that could only be chanced upon by luck. "Master He Yun, immediately gather the alchemists when you return. I'll leave the matters of the alchemy hall to you in the future. All you need to do is provide enough healing pills for my flame mercenaries. As for the alchemy hall, I'll personally announce its existence in 2 days," said Jianshan. "I'll do as you say, Commander," He Yun replied politely. Just when Jianshan wanted to dismiss Master He Yun, a thought suddenly flashed through his head. He asked, "Master He Yun, do you know the exact method to refine radiant spirit pills?" He Yun pondered for a moment before replying, "Commander, although refining radiant spirit pills isn't difficult, it requires the assistance of radiant saint masters. Moreover, there's not a lot of production. Do you plan on refining radiant spirit pills?" "That's right. That's exactly what I was thinking." "Master He Yun, may I ask what the process is?" Jianshan asked. He had experienced the effects of radiant spirit pills very well. He had wanted to refine radiant spirit pills more than once in the past, but he had never found the method or the alchemists. Today, he finally had the opportunity to complete his long-held wish. He Yun said, "Commander, the method to refine radiant spirit pills isn't difficult. It can be described as extremely simple. It only requires a few special ingredients to refine the pills, and then a Radiant Saint Master can pour Radiant Saint Force into them. The pills will naturally seal up the Radiant Saint Force within them, preventing it from dissipating. However, pouring Radiant Saint Force into the pills is equivalent to stabbing your finger into a tough rock. It's not that easy. Many Radiant Saint Masters can't do that, so that's the most difficult aspect of refining Radiant Spirit pills." Chapter 647. "Yes, Captain." I'll immediately gather the ingredients to refine the Radiant Spirit pill once we return. He-Yun replied before withdrawing under Jinshan's signal. With He-Yun's departure, only Jinshan and Bai Lian remained in the resplendent room. Jinshan's eyes landed on the 2 jade bottles in the wooden box on the table. He could not hide his excitement. With this pill, his sister's constitution would change as well. She would have an excellent physique for cultivation. From then on, she would not encounter too many obstacles on her path of cultivation. Lian, swallow it quickly. From now on, you won't have to worry about your strength remaining stagnant. Jinshan handed one of the jade bottles to Bai Lian. Bai Lian's emotions became extremely mixed at that moment when she smelled the dense fragrance from the bottle. This was a pill refined from a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource. She had never even seen a 1,000-year-old heavenly resource in her life, let alone a 10,000-year-old one. Back when she was the young mistress of the Yun family, 1,000-year-old heavenly resources were unattainable treasures to her. But now, she was actually able to personally enjoy a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource that was 1,000 times more precious than a 1,000-year-old heavenly resource. This caused her emotions to become extremely complicated. At the same time, the warmth of being cared for and protected filled her entire heart. Brother, thank you. You're the person who treats me the best in this world aside from Mother. Tears flickered in by Lian's eyes as 2 crystalline tears flowed uncontrollably from her eyes. Jinshan chuckled. He extended his right hand and gently wiped away Bai Lian's tears. Silly girl, you're my only sister. Of course I'll protect you well. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Swallow this pill quickly, or it'll lose its effects if you drag it on for too long. Jinshan poured the pill into his hand and personally fed it to Bai Lian. The pill slid down Bai Lian's throat and into her stomach. A gentle energy immediately surged out from the pill, filling her entire body very soon. Bai Lian closed her eyes instinctively and used the method that Jinshan had taught her to silently guide the energy through her body. At the same time, Jinshan closed his eyes as well. He sent his powerful consciousness into Bai Lian's body to assist her in refining the energy from the pill. The Earth Core fruit was a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource. The amount of energy it possessed was unimaginable, yet it was only enough to refine 2 pills. This was more than enough to demonstrate just how powerful each pill was. If a normal person were to refine the pill, it would take them several days or even a dozen days at the very least. However, with the assistance of Jinshan's powerful consciousness, Bai Lian only used half a day to completely absorb the energy from the pill. After absorbing all the energy from the pills, Bai Lian's physique underwent an earth-shattering change. He had gone from a mediocre physique to a physique that was rarely seen in 1,000 years. His talent for cultivation was even greater than geniuses like Dugu Feng and Huang Wan. After all, her physique had been refined from a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource. It was a treasure that even saint rulers would drool over. Its effects were so great that a 1,000-year-old heavenly resource could not compare to it. Not only had the pill changed Bai Lian's physique, but it had also allowed her strength to skyrocket. In just half a day, not only had she successfully condensed a saint weapon, but she had also broken through to the level of a high-level saint master. She was only a step away from becoming a great saint master. A 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure indeed had the ability to change one's physique and greatly increase one's strength. However, to be willing to use such a treasure just to change one's physique, even a great country like the Qinhuang Kingdom would not be willing to do so. This was because a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure was extremely difficult to obtain. Using it on an ordinary person was simply a waste of heavenly treasure. Not many people in the world would be willing to do so. Brother, I've already become a saint master. It's just unbelievable. It's only been half a day, yet I've already broken through to saint master and great saint master. Bai Lian became extremely excited as she sensed the powerful saint force within her. She had never thought that there would be a day when she would be able to grasp such great strength. The strength of a high-level saint master was already enough for Bai Lian. Jinshin also smiled happily when he saw how excited Bai Lian was. He said, "Lianer, you should quickly familiarize yourself with your sudden increase in strength. You need to become proficient in using this energy as soon as possible." Since Bai Lian had consumed a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource, she did not have any drawbacks. Instead, her foundation was extremely firm. Afterwards, Jianxian explained a few more things to Bai Lian about the convenience of using energy before leaving Bai Lian to familiarize herself with the usage of Saint Force. Although she was already a high-level Saint Master, her strength had increased too quickly, so she was unable to use Saint Force as easily as an extension of her body. She still needed time to familiarize herself with it. Jianshan walked out of his residence and looked at the sky that had already darkened. Only then did he realize that an entire day had already passed. Within the Imperial Palace, groups of armored guards patrolled everywhere. These guards were all elites selected from the Flame Mercenaries, so all of them possessed some strength. At this moment, the alchemist Hiyun hurried over from afar. He carried a small wooden box as he arrived beside Jianshan in exhaustion. He said, "Captain, I've already refined a batch of radiant spirit pills according to your orders. They're all in here." Hiyun passed the wooden box to Jianshan. Jianshan accepted the wooden box and opened it. He saw that it was filled with palm-sized jade bottles that were neatly arranged. Every single bottle contained quite a few brown-colored pills. They were very different from the snow-white radiant spirit pills in terms of color. "Master Hiyun, are you saying that I can refine radiant spirit pills as long as I channel radiant saint force into them?" Jianshan confirmed once again. "Correct. All you need to do is channel your radiant saint force into the pills. The outer shell of the pills will automatically seal the radiant saint force within, preventing it from leaking out," said Hiyun. "Master Hiyun, thank you for your hard work today. You should go and have a good rest." After bidding farewell to Alchemist Hiyun, Jianshan carried the wooden chest and returned to his own quarters with a sense of urgency. After instructing the maids to prevent anyone from disturbing him, he locked himself in an airtight room. The room had already been rearranged. Although there were still quite a few things from before, many of the items and decorations had been added recently, including the large, soft bed. Although Jianshan stayed in the residence of the original king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, many of the items that had the original owner's scent had been replaced. After all, with Jianshan's current status, how could you and Bai Lian allow him to use the bed and items that the original owner had slept in? On the soft bed, a small white tiger the size of a kitten was sleeping soundly on the pillow. 2 days ago, it had swallowed more than 20,000 years old heaven and earth treasures. At this moment, it was trying its best to digest the medicinal effects. Jianshan sat in the center of the bed with a small wooden box in his arms. The tutor took out a palm-sized white jade bottle from the wooden box and opened the lid. He directly poured out all the pill shells inside. Slightly gray pills rolled out from the bottle. Under the control of Jianshan's mind, they all hovered in the air and did not fall to the ground. The pills were thumb-sized, and there just happened to be 30 of them in the jade bottle. Jianshan stared at the pills eagerly and excitedly. He struggled to remain calm. He knew that whether or not he could create radiant spirit pills would depend on this moment. Jianshan knew the value of radiant spirit pills very well. Without any exaggeration, they could be described as life-saving pills. If a person was heavily injured, ingesting a radiant spirit pill would temporarily stabilize their condition, even if it could not completely heal them, preventing them from worsening. At the same time, if there were enough radiant spirit pills, they could even heal a person who was on the brink of death in an extremely short amount of time. There was no need to doubt their usefulness. However, the exorbitant price and rarity of radiant spirit pills prevented them from being popularized. As a result, radiant spirit pills have become extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. Only a few peak experts or large clans would have some in stock, but there were not a lot of them. The main reason Jianshan wanted to create radiant spirit pills was because of his friends and family. If all of them had radiant spirit pills on them, he would not have to worry too much about them being injured by powerful enemies. Even if their lives were in danger when he was not around, the radiant spirit pills would be able to stabilize their condition in time. Jianshun quickly dismissed his thoughts and exhaled deeply, slowly calming himself down. Afterward, he closed his eyes and fused his mind with the world. He used his mind to connect with the radiant saint force in the surroundings, controlling it to quickly gather. Jianshun was now a 6th-class Radiant Saint Master, a high-level Radiant Saint Master on the Tianyuan continent. Basically, as soon as he began to think, a faint layer of milky white light gathered before his chest. The light rapidly intensified, becoming a dense, milky white light in just a few seconds. It dyed the gloomy room snow white, as if it had become a world of snow. When the density of the Radiant Saint Force reached the limits of what Jianshun could control, he finally began to attempt to channel the Radiant Saint Force into the shell of the Radiant Spirit Pill. In the beginning, he did encounter some obstructions. Ian was right. Channeling a Radiant Saint Master into a shell was like using a finger to pierce a tough rock. It was not something an ordinary person could do. This was the most difficult aspect of creating the Radiant Spirit Pill, as well as the most crucial step. However, this difficulty posed no obstruction to Jianshun at all. With his abilities as a 6th-class Radiant Saint Master and the assistance of his powerful soul, he was naturally able to channel the Radiant Saint Force into the shell with ease. The Radiant Saint Force was constantly channeled into the shell under Jianshun's control. As the Radiant Saint Force seeped in, the grayish-brown shell began to turn white at a visible rate, turning into snow-white pills in the end. When the shell completely turned white, the amount of Radiant Saint Force it could hold seemed to have reached its limit. No matter how much effort Jianshun put into channeling more Radiant Saint Force into the shell, only a tiny amount of Radiant Saint Force remained locked in the shell. The excess would all leak out. Jianshun stopped gathering Radiant Saint Force. Without his control, the dense Radiant Saint Force that hovered before him rapidly dispersed. Very soon, the snow-white room became gloomy again. With a thought, the 30 Radiant Spirit Pills in the air all flew into Jianshun's hand. Looking at the finished Radiant Spirit Pills, Jianshun smiled happily. He knew that he had succeeded in creating the Radiant Spirit Pills. Chapter 648. Jianshun was extremely dissatisfied with the mere 3rd-grade Radiant Spirit Pill he had created. I wonder how I can make the pill shell contain even more Radiant Saint Force. Is it because the materials used to refine the pill shell are limited? Jianshun thought. He immediately stowed the Radiant Spirit Pill away in his space ring and left his residence. He found Yun, who was about to rest, under the lead of a guard. Since Yun had already become the Hall Master of the Alchemy Hall, he possessed a certain status in the mercenaries. As a result, Jianshun had specially arranged a residence for him in the Imperial Palace. However, when Yun saw that the captain of the mercenaries, a mighty saint ruler, had personally come to see him, he immediately became quite frightened. He immediately bowed in greeting. Although he possessed a certain status in the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom due to his talent in alchemy, he had to treat even Heaven Saint Masters politely back then, let alone a saint ruler that even Heaven Saint Masters had to look up to. There's no need for that, Master Yun. I've come to disturb you this time because I have something important to ask you. Let's sit down and talk. Jianshun smiled gently. He seemed like an amiable person as he directly sat down at the table. Captain, you only need to send someone to report to me. I will hurry over as quickly as possible. There's no need for you to come personally. Yun bowed as he bowed. Yun hurriedly bowed, feeling extremely flattered. Afterward, he sat before Jianshun with a restrained expression. Even though Jianshun was only a junior who was much younger than him, he still felt extremely terrified when facing a saint ruler. This was because strength was everything on the Tianyuan continent. Master Yun, I come to ask about the Radiant Spirit Pill. May I ask what the highest grade of Radiant Spirit Pill can be made from the shells you provided me? Jianshun asked. Yun pondered for a moment before replying. Captain, the pill shells I gave you before were only refined from normal medicinal ingredients. According to my estimations, they can only refine level 3 Radiant Spirit Pills at most. Due to the limitations of the medicinal ingredients, they can only seal the radiant saint force required for level 3 radiant spirit pills. If you want to refine higher level radiant spirit pills, you'll need even more precious medicinal ingredients to refine the pill shells. Grandmaster Hyun, then can you help me refine a batch of high-grade pill shells? At the very least, they have to be at the level of level 6 radiant divine pills. Jinshin said. The quality of the radiant spirit pills was the same as the level of radiant saint masters. With his abilities as a 6th-class radiant saint master, he could only refine 6th-class radiant spirit pills at most. Hyun muttered to himself for a while, then said, Sir Captain, he do indeed have the ability to refine a level 6 radiant divine pills core shell, but the materials required are too precious. It must be 1,000-year-old medicinal herbs. Although the variety is not as precious as those heavenly treasures, the price is still not cheap. Grandmaster Hyun, please give me a list of the materials you need. I'll immediately get people to collect them when I get back, said Jinshin. Afterwards, Hyun immediately wrote down a list of materials required to refine a level 6 radiant divine pills core shell before handing it to Jinshin. After receiving the list of materials, Jinshin did not continue to disturb Hyun. He immediately left and got people to collect all the materials on the list as quickly as possible. Since this matter was personally ordered by Jinshin, the people below were extremely efficient. They only spent a day to collect all the materials. Although the materials were all 1,000-year-old, they were not particularly precious. They were rather common in some deep mountains and forests, which was why they were collected so smoothly. After collecting the materials, Hyun, who had just recovered his energy, threw himself into the process of refining the pill again. This time, he spent 2 whole days to successfully refine the core shell. He refined a total of over 100 core shells before immediately handing them over to Jinshin. Jinshin did not delay at all after receiving the core shell of the level 6 radiant divine pill. Taking advantage of the free time he had, he immediately threw himself into refining the level 6 radiant divine pill. Refining a level 6 radiant divine pill was much more difficult than refining a level 3 radiant divine pill. At the same time, it took several times more time. Jinshin could refine 30 level 3 radiant divine pills at once, but at this moment, he could only refine 3 level 6 radiant divine pills at once. This was because the core shell of a level 6 radiant divine pill was much tougher than a level 3 radiant divine pill. Pouring radiant saint force into it was not as easy as refining a level 3 radiant divine pill. With Jinshin's current ability, he could only pour radiant saint force into 3 core shells at once. After spending half a day, Jinshin finally succeeded in refining 3 level 6 radiant divine pills. Looking at the 3 thumb-sized pills floating before him, Jinshin could not hide his joy. Jinshin had refined these radiant divine pills for the sake of his friends. Although he was a radiant saint master, he could not always be by their side. If they encountered danger when he was not around, the radiant divine pills would be able to save their lives. This made him feel much more at ease. I've used up 1/5 of my soul to refine 3 radiant divine pills. I should be able to refine 15 radiant divine pills continuously with this amount of energy. Jinshin calculated inside before lowering his head to look at the several dozen shells in the wooden box to the side. He murmured, 3 radiant divine pills are nowhere near enough. I need to refine all the shells in here at the very least. With that, Jinshin controlled the 3 shells to hover in the air with his mind again. Using his abilities, he communicated with the radiant saint force in the surroundings and rapidly gathered it. He began the great undertaking of refining a large number of high-grade radiant divine pills. The next few days passed peacefully. Nothing happened at all. The tungsten alloy mine that the flame mercenaries had occupied continued to be mined in an orderly manner. They could refine a large amount of tungsten alloy every day, so the flame mercenary stockpile of tungsten alloy increased at an unbelievable rate. The mine that produced the tungsten alloy had become an important place of protection for the flame mercenaries. Basically, half of their forces were gathered there to silently guard it, preventing any accidents from happening. On the third day after Jianshun began refining Class 6 Radiant Divine Pills, an extremely tremendous pressure suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It flooded the surroundings, causing the weather to change. The gentle energy of the world suddenly became extremely violent as well.